Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world wondering stardom. I am your host. Sorry, got completely distracted by Matt doing the Kuma dance. I am your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by the Passion Package, by the Kuma himself. It is in fact Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, we haven't said this in a while, but bear blessings to everyone out there.
Bear blessings.
Yes, in YouTube world or podcast world. Brother, I'm great as always. I'm actually a little bit better this week than normally, which we will get into because a certain awesome thing happened on Wednesday, which obviously you know about. So we will get into that. Yes, you know about it. We're going to get it. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. Okay. However, Rob Goodwin, I would like for you to afford me a moment or two. And I've
just remembered what it is.
Click. I just would like a moment. I know it's not wrestling related, but I just want to just talk about the passing of an absolute icon in Hollywood earlier this week. And one Val Kilmer had passed away, I believe, at 65 years old, which I believe, which is the same age my father-in-law was when he passed away. But an absolute icon in Hollywood. Some of the great roles. A really great underrated comedy from I think the late 80s, early 90s was A Real Genius that he was in. Terrific there.
Yes, God.
Yeah, great movie. If you haven't seen it, folks, go out and go out of your way to go see it. Excellent movie. I thought he was a very underrated Batman. Obviously, everybody goes to Christian Bale or Michael Keaton, or for us, Batman the Animated Series fans in the 90s. Obviously, the late great Kevin Conroy. I thought he was a great Batman. But I know him best for his Iceman in Top Gun, and then he actually came back. And I know when they finally 30 years later they did Top Gun Maverick, which was a phenomenal movie.
Really good follow-up. Really good sequel.
Usually when they wait that long for the movies, for the sequel, it's just a cash cow or they ran out of ideas. But that was unbelievable. I know because I had friends of mine that would go to Comic-Cons or signings that he was at, that you could kind of tell like he was happy to be there, but you can see that his health was failing. So I was very shocked that he had that really great scene and powerful scene with Tom Cruise as Iceman and Maverick. Yeah. Really great scene. I love Top Gun. I love the sequel. Again, obviously he wasn't in the movie too long because of his health, but what a great scene. And maybe my favorite role from him ever, Rob, was The Doors as Jim Morrison, which now that I look back on, because I remember watching that in music class when I was like in 7th or 8th grade, so probably like 13, 14 years old. Maybe a movie they shouldn't have been showing in public schools, but then again, it was the 90s, it was a little bit of a different time. But that's how I got hooked into The Doors, for his role as Jim Morrison. But an absolute legend, taken away from us way too soon, but somebody, Rob Goodwin, that will live on forever for just those iconic roles I just said, and so many more. Not only that, but a cool name, Val Kilmer. That sounds like, headlining WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan versus Val Kilmer. Like, that's a great name. That's a great name. But an absolute.
He sounds like a villain from the Rocky films.
Oh man, Rocky Balboa versus Val Kilmer in Iceland.
There you go. There you go. Obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Val Kilmer's family at this time. And if you need to pay tribute to Val Kilmer in your own way, then I do encourage you to listen to the Bowling for Soup song, Val Kilmer. Which is a great song and lists some of his really good roles, but does have the immortal line at the end of the chorus, "But he sucked as Batman," which I think, depending on who you compare him to, I think if you are comparing him to Christian Bale, then yes, perhaps he wasn't the best. However, if you are comparing him to George Clooney, then I feel like Val Kilmer is Oscar worthy as Batman. But yes, unfortunately. Yes. Any Batman that brings out a Bat credit card, I'm sorry. No, you've lost me. But yes, apart from that, Matt, how have you been? I know you said you were better than ordinary, which when you consider you are already like, as he tries to get his hand on screen, already like there in terms of positivity. I'm excited to see what this, quite frankly, ball of energy is going to be like during this podcast.
Well, as we record this, we are 13 days away from me going from Las Vegas. So not only that, but 13. Great Megadeth album, great Black Sabbath album. So thumbs up there.
Great Black Sabbath album.
Yes, great Black Sabbath album. But tomorrow, Friday, is my first day off from work all year. all year, other than the holidays that we get. But I'm literally still have a week's vacation from last year, so I decided let me take said Friday off. So I know that
Good choice.
my wonderful wife is making burgers for dinner tonight, and I got some Sam Adams beer in the fridge. Shout out to our friend Scotty Wrestling from Boston, that's where the Sam Adams Brewery plant is, from Boston. So excited about that. And I will be my homework for tomorrow is I'm going to be finishing, and we'll get into the Patreon, my Mariah May 2023 5-star Grand Prix review. I'm about 3 matches in. I was like, man, that was a great 5-star. So I'm excited to watch that. Even more exciting, Rob Goodwin. Even more exciting. Let me tell you what took place in a matter of about 14 minutes on my Wednesday, which obviously
It
you know.
really was.
It was like bing, bang, boom. So
just before you start,
go ahead,
right?
sir.
There was 2 messages that I received from Matt in relation to this story. One message, so we'd sent each other texts the night before because we knew this was happening, and then I unashamedly, Matt, had completely forgotten about it. So the next day, I received a text just after I left work to come home, and I received another text just before I walked in the door. So the entire saga I missed because I was driving home. I had no idea the stress levels you were under because I was driving home. So just bear that in mind as you tell your story.
There, folks. There it again. There's the appetizer, if you will.
Absolutely.
There's the little prequel. So, if you do remember, a couple weeks ago on our Euro Kyrie watch, we did make mention that we were able to secure tickets to meet Io and Kyrie at WWE World for Las Vegas. Now, I don't know if I told this part of the story, but when I went on into the queue to buy said tickets, it took me about 90 minutes to get through the queue. So a majority was sold out. Like Julia, she's only doing photos. She was sold out. EO's photos were sold out. So we didn't get EO's photos, but we got an EO autograph. I'm like, I will absolutely take that. And we got the Kyrie photos. It was about a week later, WWE World did announce. Let me back up a little bit. I did notice that once I got into the queue a couple weeks ago, that it's run by Epic Photos. Epic Photos, they run the photo and autographs for New York Comic Con. And one thing I've noticed in my over 10 years of going to New York Comic Con, if one of these big celebrities sells out within 24 hours, they do everything they can to try to get a second line or a second day or a second autograph / photo session because the demand is there. And ultimately, it's a business. Wrestling's a business. Comics a business. It's a business. So that's the one thing I told you. I said, Rob, I have a feeling because it's run by Epic Photos and they do a great job that I think we're going to get a second round of autographs and photo ops. So Rob had sent me a message the night before saying, hey, at such and such time tomorrow, there is another round of autographs and photos going on sale, but it doesn't say who. Because I know CM Punk sold out, Bianca Belair sold out, Bayley sold out. It doesn't say who. It could be the referees. It could be the camera people. It didn't say who. So I was like, okay, I'll log in and we'll see what happens. So I get to my comic shop, and again, this is a big shout out to the Encounter Comics and Games on Union Boulevard in the beautiful Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I get there a little bit early before they open, and I'm sitting in my car, and my buddy Pete, who works there, he comes over to my car because he sees my car, and this is a YouTube exclusive. He gifts me this autograph.
Nice.
When Sari was in NXT, an autographed Sari rookie card, only 99. I don't know if you can see that. Only 99 in existence. And I have one of them. Gifts it to me. Okay. Hey, awesome. So I'm looking at my email, and all of a sudden the tickets go on sale in like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, let me get into the queue. Walk into the comic shop, get my books. I'm talking to everybody, and I have my phone in my hand, figuring this is going to take at least an hour to get through because last time it took an hour and a half. Have my phone in my hand. One thing I don't like to do is when I'm engaging with somebody in a conversation, I don't like to have my phone out. I like to have attention, not unless it's something I need to have my phone out. I like to have, if you're talking to me, you have my attention. I'm very big on no phones at the dinner table. So I kind of have my phone out and I'm explaining to everybody, and they're like, Matt, we don't care. I'm like, oh, I do, because I don't like to be rude. So all of a sudden, 11 minutes in, I'm through the queue. Oh, okay, great. 90 some odd minutes last time, 11 minutes. This is great. So again, it's in alphabetical order. And the first thing I scroll to see is sold out Braun Strowman. That's kind of weird. No disrespect to the Monster Mug men. So now, again, I don't know who is in this photo session or autograph session. I don't know. Scrolling through, Julia, available. Boom, 1, 2. Okay, put it in the cart. Now you have 10 minutes. Once it's in the cart, you have 10 minutes to buy it. Okay, great. Scroll through, Io. Boom, 1, 2. So look, I'm literally talking to my buddy Pete. I'm getting, hi Pete, how you doing, buddy? And I'm like, do I have this right? Was this easy? And he's like, 1, 2, Julia, 1, 2, Io. Yeah, photo ops. He's like, yeah, all you got to do is pay for it. And I'm like, oh, okay. We are all done. Take a snapshot of it, send it to Rob. Now the EO is on Saturday, which is one of the WrestleCon or one of the days at WrestleCon for Stardom. And I was like, I think this might mess up our Wingori meet and greet. And then I realized Wingori is 12-1. Our EO autograph is 9:30, and our photo I think is 10:30. And I do have a strategy, which I did say to you, because again, if this is going to be run like a Comic-Con, which I think it will, Uncle MT's got you. Uncle MT's got you. I have a game plan. So it's literally going to be bing, bang, boom, and then off to WrestleCon. So I was like, how about that? All within less than 15 minutes, I got a fancy, autographed rookie card and our tickets to meet Julia and EO as far as photo ops goes. So Rob Goodwin, I was thinking about this the other. I mean, first of all, it's awesome. That's awesome.
Absolutely, can't wait.
So between now, obviously, what we're doing is, and as you know this, and a lot of our listeners are going to Vegas. Our strategy is we have every meet and greet for the Spark Joshi meet and greet for the in between Spark and the Stardom meet and greet. So we have the Hazuki, the Starlight Kid, the Sherry. Some of the ones we also bought for WrestleCon to meet twice. So we might not be able to make it to the Izumi. We might not be able to make it to the Hazuki and Starlight Kid at WrestleCon, but we do have them for Spark Joshi. The only one that we're missing is Suzu Suzuki. Now, we do know Suzu Suzuki is wrestling Masa Slamovich at Spring Break, which we are more than likely going to. And I know that GCW is very big on meet and greets, so that might be our best opportunity to get Suzu. But regardless, our list of meet and greets at WrestleMania in Las Vegas is absolutely insane. I'm super excited for it. I was thinking about this on my drive to work. Rob, after this WrestleMania, if everything goes as planned, all the red belt wrestlers, the former World of Stardom champions that we have met, Io, Kairi, Mayu. So we'll have the 3 daughters. I have met Utami, Shuri, Julia, Sai Kamatani, Tam Nakano, Natsu Katora. Who else am I missing? I think that's almost like half the red belt champions. Like,
yeah, it is.
That's like absolutely insane stuff.
You haven't mentioned Micah, but we'll ignore that.
Oh my goodness! See, I knew I meant. I threw you a softball. We're going to be talking about Micah quite a bit on this show.
We are, yeah, you're right.
Because boy, howdy, she had a heck of a Cork and Hall match. She's got a heck of a match coming up in Vegas, and she's even got a monster of a Hashimoto style match coming up for All-Star Grand Queendom. But Rob Goodwin, I am great. Again, I am over the moon. Just all this great stuff happening. I'm super excited for Las Vegas. I'm super excited to talk about these 4 shows. But I spent these first 15 minutes talking about me. What's going on with you, brother, other than your, as always, phenomenal dapper hair?
Thank you very much. I feel like the headphones do mask it somewhat a little bit, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. It looks all right. Yeah, I'm good, man. Obviously, as you've said, 13 days, and we will be in Las Vegas, which is crazy. Me and Kirsty went for a walk actually earlier tonight, and we were talking about how quickly this is coming. And between us, I am certainly worse when it comes to organization, as you are fully aware, Mr. Turner, and timekeeping, as you are fully aware, Mr. Turner. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like Matt is going to chop me again in Las Vegas because that's just how we greet each other nowadays. But I feel that all the aggression, all the pent-up frustration of my woeful timekeeping will be in that singular chop. He is going to hit me like Kenta Kobashi. And with every one, it's going to be like, be on time.
You know what I might do? As I'm getting ready to chop you and I'm warming up, I'm going to have Amber at my phone play Grand Sword, which is the Kenta Kobashi theme. So this way I feel like I'm Kenta Kobashi walking into Budokan Hall match with Masala. Kobashi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kobashi.
If you can put your hood up as well and walk towards me like Kobashi, it really immerses me in it. But me and obviously Kirsty's timekeeping is also not great. And just to give you some indication, she missed my godson's christening because she wasn't ready. So that's sort of the level you're dealing with. Now, I have today created her a timetable. That's the level we are at. Okay. Yes, me of all people,
Oh my God.
have created a timetable of the stuff that we've got going on. It's not complete because obviously I didn't know the times of the Kyrie meet and greet and stuff like that. But just looking at it, and I was like, so obviously the Stardom shows are at midday. And I'd originally put them down for 11. And I think that's because we'd sort of discussed, I can't remember if it was off camera or whatever, just saying we'll get there an hour early like we did for the Philly show. And I just turned to Kirsty and went, Matt is a real stickler for time. Okay. We need to be each other's sort of motivator. But, you know, if we see we're dicking about, okay, just tell them to stop. Okay. We need to force it. We need to be each other's cheerleader. Come on. We're going to be on time. We're going to be on time. I would rather be early than be late. So we'll see how that goes. I have every confidence.
I have every confidence in you. And folks, comment on YouTube, comment in the section. We have confidence in Rob. He will be on time because of Bear blessings. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, Rob, be on time, Bear blessings. And I was thinking about this, and this is a great segment for this, Rob, because you just popped something in my head.
Go for it.
Again, I got no problem with you being late, as you always are for certain things. I get my comment. At least you're consistent. I understand what I'm getting with my tag partner. Like with Andy Header, I understand he wants to do the burning hammer in the first move. I'm like, we'll get it in. We got to build to it. We have to build to it. I know where to put his stuff. What makes the most sense. But so obviously timing again, time has to be an absolute factor, especially when we're bouncing around with these meet and greets so we get everything in. So I know you are, not only do it to me, but you've mentioned on this air, so you know, publicly and privately, that you don't respond to anybody's text messages.
I am a nightmare.
It's your gimmick, kid. It's your gimmick, kid.
Absolutely.
With the exception of me texting you at 5 a.m. that, hey brother, I'm going to the gym in 20 minutes. You want to meet me? Other than that, you cannot ignore my text messages. That's the only one I will give you. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to the gym I'll meet you there at 5:30. That one I got no problem with the swipe up or you putting the phone down. No problem. But if it's like, I might
respond, Matt. You just might not like my response.
I'll take a response. I might have a heart attack if you respond with the middle finger. But if I respond to you that like, hey, I just bumped into the honky tonk man and he wants to do an interview right here in the lobby
I'll be there.
And there's 3 reasons why he want to do an interview with us: because he's cool,
do tell.
He's cocky, and he's bad.
He is indeed. He is all 3 of those things. It's been a weird opening to this podcast, but we move. Matt Turner, it has been a news-laden week, and it seems to have been every single day something has dropped from Stardom. So I know there's been news from Marigold. Obviously, we've had 2 matches confirmed for Korakuen Hall, and the Superfly Championship match is going to be happening on the 12th of April between Victoria Yuzuki and Rhea Sato. We've also had the full tour dates announced for the next tour, which is going to take us through June and July, the Burning Spirit Tour, speaking of Kenta Kobashi. But I'm not going into all that because otherwise this podcast will be 5.5 hours. So when we record the Marigold Standard next week, I'll go into all that news then. Just in terms of Stardom news, just in terms of stuff that's dropped today, I've got a feeling that it could be 2.5 hours before we get into any show reviews. And as we've got 4 of them, we need to try and keep some semblance of succinctness. That's definitely a word.
Look like you're going to sneeze. I like how you pulled that off, buddy. Yeah, you pulled it off pretty good. Yeah.
Sometimes you've just got to go with it and see what your face does when you pronounce a word, and that's apparently what my face decided it was going to do today. But before we get into the news and what is shaping up to be Stardom's greatest ever card, and I don't think that's an understatement by any stretch of the imagination.
By Stardom, I mean pro wrestling's greatest card ever.
It's got to be in the conversation because what they're doing at the moment and what they're announcing is just absolutely outrageous. And all of the stuff to do with Vegas and Azumi having just the run of her life over April and May. Matt, what is coming up? Pray tell on our Patreon this week.
Speaking of Azumi, our What If, which I believe will be in your feeds by the time you listen to this, because I know it was supposed to drop last week. Rob, go ahead. Go, sir. Go ahead.
In my defense.
Absolutely. I'm going to back you up. I will back you up. Go ahead, sir.
I have no defense for this. I'll be perfectly honest. But I did schedule it. The artwork's done. It's all ready to go. Twice now I've forgotten to schedule the damn thing. It's up. It's been recorded for 2 weeks?
A little over a week.
Yeah, so it's up and ready. I just forgot to schedule it, so it will be up by the time this episode drops. It'll be in your Patreon feed. So my apologies. It is 100% my fault. But yes, I did the artwork for it, set it all up, and then I got distracted by, I don't know, something shiny like a magpie. So yeah, just I apologize. That's my fault.
Anywho, so that'll be in your Patreon feeds by the time this drops. Our what if Azumi did win the Cinderella tournament, and I believe I chose 2023. I think Rob was 2022.
I
But
was.
that takes us obviously to the month that we're in, the month of April, and we are loaded for the month of April. And again, folks, bear with us as far as when content comes out. With Rob and I being away for a week in Las Vegas, we're not sure when we're going to get what. I'm going to try to load as much stuff up onto the Patreon before I go, either solo or with Andy Header. So this way, then Andy can just be plugging things away. So again, bear with us, but we will definitely make it worth your while. Now, with that being said, our theme for alternate commentary this month will be we're going to be doing alternate commentary to matches that take place at the super shows in the spring. For example, our first alternate commentary that we released earlier this week was from All-Star Dream Cinderella in the Budokan Hall with Momo Watanabe taking on one Nanae Takahashi. And then our one for next week will be from last year's All-Star Grand Queendom with Micah defending the World of Stardom Championship against Momo Watanabe in the main event in 2 out of 3 falls. So that's what we're focusing on, the super shows, and then mine the week after, which Rob and I may have to record back to back. We'll talk about that more off air, is going to be from night 2 of World Climax from 2022, Kairi taking on Starlight Kid. So again, that is the theme.
Okay.
Yes, I haven't seen that match in a while.
That is
the theme for the alternate commentary. Now that'll take us to is it still 5 stars, which that'll be in your feed sometime, I think early next week, because I recorded it with Andy Header and we did the Queen's Quest versus Oedotai cage match from 2023, the summer of 2023, Stardom in Sunshine. Now, for you longtime listeners of this podcast and you, Rob Goodwin, you know every time I've seen said cage match, it gets a little dusty onions up in the Turner household. I get a little teary-eyed. And this is this is part of the podcast where I apologize for the Sai Kamatani heel turn. Because if you remember when I did my rant, I said, I don't know if I can watch that match now and have the same emotions because she turned heel. Obviously, I was wrong. This is the first time I've seen said match since the heel turn. And Rob Goodwin, spoiler alert, I did cry at the end of said match. Yes, I did. And Andy had her pretty proper. It popped him pretty hopper. So that's is it still 5 stars? I don't know what we're gonna do yet for matches with Matt or tag team breakdown, but probably record that in the next week or so. The Mariah May 2023 5-star Grand Prix review. That'll be in your feed sometime next week. I'm due to record that with Andy next week, so that should be in your feed in the next 7 or 8 days or so. That takes us to our what if. And this is probably going to be a solo one done by me, but this is a good one. What if Momo Watanabe never turned heel and she stayed with Queen's Quest? So how would I book Momo Watanabe in the year 2022? That's going to be a real fun one. And then a roundtable discussion. I'll be joined once again by Andy Header as we're going to be talking, this is very timely, our top 5 favorite Mako Satomura matches of all time. Yes, that's going to be a good one. And folks, I'll put this up on social media. Now I've seen this match a zillion times because I have it on Blu-rays. If anybody can find, Rob knows where I'm going with this, the Io versus Mako Satomura World of Stardom Championship match from year-end Climax 2015. Please either send it to me, Rob, or Andy, because that is not only one of my favorite Mako Satomura matches of all time, it's one of my favorite Stardom matches of all time. Fortunately,
mine too.
Can't find it on YouTube. Can't find it on Stardom World. I have it on an EO comp of 2015. I have it. I got 5 or 6 different ways to see it, but I need to give it over to Andy because he needs to see that match. So if anybody can find that, please let me know. So again, folks, that's what we have coming up on the Patreon, what's in your feed, what's coming up on your feed, and what's going to be coming up through the entire month of April as we are absolutely jam loaded with some excellent, excellent content.
Yeah, and just speaking of a Patreon, I just want to quickly shout out Mr. Adkins, who has just signed up to our Patreon. Thank you to every single member over at patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. Your support means absolutely everything to us, and we truly do appreciate it. So thank you. And if you've got any ideas or any suggestions for stuff that you would like to see on Patreon or improvements, blah, yada, 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 then please let us know. But maybe message Matt, because I apparently won't respond. So Matt, let's delve headlong into some news. I feel like it's about time we head into news, and it's funny that you should mention you doing a solo booking What If, because seemingly you are putting all of these ideas into the universe for the All-Star Grand Queendom card, and Stardom just keep announcing them. So obviously we now have what can only be described as an unbelievable card for All-Star Grand Queendom in the Yokohama Arena, 27th of April. At the start of the week, it was announced that Azumi would be challenging Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Obviously, this will be Azumi's first ever challenge for the white belt they've had so far, which is really quite interesting. 12. Well, this will be the 12th singles match between the pair, and Starlight Kid has failed to win in the last 7. So that's a really, really interesting sort of little bit of a wrinkle going into this match. I mean, that alone would be cause for celebration, because Starlight Kid versus Azumi, I know you agree. Short of Hazuki, who we already knew it wasn't going to be because it was Wingori and FWC, which, again, thank you. Azumi was easily the best choice. Obviously, with us at the time not knowing the status of Natsupoi, for example, I think it made the most sense. That was very exciting. However, today, Stardom have decided that no, we're going to give them another match. During the Sendai Girls show from today, the 3rd of April, Chihiro Hashimoto was confronted by none other than Micah, and that has now also been added to the Yokohama card on the 27th. So just to refresh your memories, in case you needed your memories refreshing, we have a red belt retirement match, Korea versus Korea, Tam Nakano versus Saya Kamatani, Wonder of Stardom Championship, Starlight Kid versus Azumi, IWGP Women's Championship match, Mayu Iwatani versus Syuri. We have got Goddesses of Stardom Championship match between FWC and Wingori. Sendai Girls World Championship match between Micah and Chihiro Hashimoto. And then we've had a Future of Stardom Championship match added as well, which we'll talk about after our reviews. Matt, this is one of those cards that you look at and you think, if I'd have booked this in the old E-Feds or, on TW or Promotion Wars, you'd think it's a good card, but it feels a little bit unrealistic. This is an absolutely outrageous card. And you look at, there's been some criticism, for example, about WrestleMania, the build and the card for WrestleMania. You look at this and just go, yeah, fair enough. Take your hat off. Taro Okada. What else can you say? Because there's not a single match I'd change. There's not a single match I'm not excited about. And this is no disrespect to the Future of Stardom match, but even the Future of Stardom Championship match, I'm really excited for. Again, we're not going to get an Artist of Stardom Championship match unless Neo Genesis drop the belts. But just looking at that card, incredible. Absolutely incredible. We are looking at a top 3 Stardom show ever. And we are looking at one of the best, pro wrestling events, at least in the last 10 years, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely jam-stacked, and you're right. I have been kind of putting some stuff out there in the ether for certain matches. And I did say, when obviously we'll get into it, because we did have Crazy Star made up, and then they didn't. And the day they made up, and I was like, they did say we're going for the Goddess belt. So I'm like, number 1 contenders match with Saori and Tam. That's obviously not happening. I have an idea what they're doing with Suzu, possibly at said show, and we'll get into it when we talk about the Korakuen show in about 3 hours. So Rob I'm going to get a little greedy. I'm going to hedge my bets, because I was like, yeah, Wingori. I think me and you are both on the same page. Let's do Wingori versus FWC. Probably the 2 best tag teams in the world. Obviously, you can throw Saori and Tam in there, and you can throw in, but now throw out Crazy Star. Again, obviously, if you listen to this, you know the reasons why. So you have that, and we're like, yeah, Azumi and Starlight Kid makes sense. Kind of the way they went about it was really weird, where Azumi was like, you don't have a challenger for Yokohama. Okay, I'll challenge you. It's like, Okay, well, it's Azumi, exception to the rule. I'll take it. I'm not going to very much
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. Very much like I will not complain about us getting a Dominic, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero ladder match over the custody of Dominic because, yeah, I'm getting Rey and Eddie in a ladder match. So, yeah, sure, whatever. We're the real winners there. So it's like, yeah, you have that. We kind of threw that out in the ether last week. And I'm like, I've been saying this pretty much since the beginning of the year. They're going to do Micah versus Chihiro Hashimoto. And more than likely, it's a slow build. They're probably going to do it in Yokohama, not unless they do Micah and Kamatani for the red belt. Clearly, we knew that about 5-6 weeks ago that they're going Tam and Saya. Absolutely. That's the hottest thing maybe in company history right now. But the fact that as of this morning, they said it's for the Sendai Girls Heavyweight Championship, that I didn't see coming. That I'll absolutely take. Now, Rob, I'm going to put something else out there in the ether. Since we got the Sendai Girls, the singles championship on this one, what's to say we don't get a tag match in there? The tag team champions, Takahashi and Miko Wada, Red Energy. Let's defend the belts against, I don't know, Soriano and Natsupoi. Let's throw that out there in the ether. Let's throw that out there. Let's throw that out in the ether. But this card on paper for right now looks like one of, if not one of the best wrestling cards. You're absolutely right in recent memory. And I get asked a lot, like, what do I think from top to bottom is like the greatest wrestling cards of all time? It's like Wrestle Kingdom 10, Wrestle Kingdom 11, WrestleMania 17, a couple of these AEW pay-per-views like the Revolution from last year, but Sting's retirement is up there. And then you got to go All-Star Grand Queendom 2023. And this on paper, and somebody even said once they announced Zumi Starlight Kid, it was only the 4 matches that we had. Somebody had sent me a message and said, man, I think this is built up, at least if you were to line up the championship matches, better than 2023. I was like, take a step back and you think about it. It's like, okay, Tam, you have Tam and Julia versus Tam and Saya. Tam right now is hotter and a better wrestler, and a bigger star than she was 2 years ago. Julie is obviously a huge star now, but you take Julie in 2023 versus Saya Kamatani right now. I love me some Julia. Saya Kamatani is a better wrestler. And then again, she's better than 99% of the wrestlers out there and a bigger star than Julia was in 2023. And the feud is hotter because you kind of remember they kind of shoehorned Tam and Julie in like with really no build, but obviously still was a great match. I'm like, okay, I get that one. The tricky one for me, buddy, is Mina and Saya versus Azumi and Starlight Kid. I mean, you have a generational rivalry. Again, this is a whole other topic for another day, but like, okay, I see that there. Mercedes and Mayu was a great match. Mercedes, lover or hater, was a reason why they drew 5,500 people to that show 2 years ago. It was a huge draw, but Shiri and Mayu is just a better combination. We've seen them have 5-star match after 5-star match. And as far as tag matches go, obviously Wingori versus FWC versus 7-Up and the New Eras is more than likely this year's going to be way better because I just have a feeling that there's going to be wrestlers going to be more cooperative in said match. Less said about the match in 2023, the better. So I was like, yeah, there's a possibility. There's a possibility because you look at those 4 matches, again, from my Stardom scale rating, like 4.5 stars is like the bottom. Is the bottom because we've seen Sai and Tam have multiple 5-star matches. We've seen Mayu versus Shiri have multiple 5-star matches. Azumi and Starlight Kid, in my opinion, are the 2 greatest high-speed championship matches of all time in 2022 and 2023, and they're better now, and they're bigger stars now. I mentioned before, FWC and Wingori, probably the 2 best tag teams in all of wrestling. Now we're getting Chihiro Hashimoto and Micah in what's been a 4-month build, and we've been getting Hina, and now we're getting Hina and Rana Yagami, and Rana Yagami's been absolutely fantastic this last 5 or 6 months, and Hina's gotten really something to kind of sink her teeth into. It is now a full-time member of this roster since she graduated from school. So it's like, man, all systems go. Like all systems go. And again, we don't know what's going on with Saori Poi. We don't know what's going on with let's see who, Yuna, Aya, Sayaka, who won the Cinderella tournament. There's so many. Tomoka Inaba, Devil Princess. Rena's just coming off that match 5-6 weeks ago at the Path of Thunder. Dun, dun, dun. And rock and roll. There's so many other people.
Momo Watanabe.
Yeah, my goodness. Momo Watanabe. What about Sari? Is there a possibility that they bring Sari like they did last year? That's a possibility. What other outsiders may they be bringing in? What about Fuki and Death? You know what I mean, Rob? You think she's awaiting the winner of Cody versus Cena? You think that's the way it's going?
If she doesn't slip out from underneath the ring on night 2 of WrestleMania, I want my money back.
It's a lot of money to get back.
Bloody is, Yeah, I do wonder if Saori, she's made, and obviously shout out Sky Wrestling, who's done some tremendous interviews with Saori. But I know that she has said recently about this. She's made a lot of the IWGP Women's Championship. It's been her focus, and obviously she was annoyed that Saori sort of jumped the gun by pinning Mayu to get that opportunity. Would not surprise me if she's not on the card proper. Wouldn't surprise me if she doesn't challenge the winner of whoever comes out of that match as the winner.
Rob, you want to put something else out there in the ether?
Please do.
Okay, what were obviously Mayu's had some phenomenal IWGP Championship matches. What's been her top three? Not in order, but what's been her top three? I think me and you agree. They all happened last year.
Saori, and I mean, the Mina Shirakawa match was fantastic.
This one's way better.
But yeah, I know, and I can't remember who it is, and it's really going to annoy me. Momo Watanabe.
Yes.
I genuinely struggled then. I was like, I know it was a historic crossover. I know I gave it 5 stars. Who was it? It's Mayu and Momo.
Let's put something else out there in the ether. So if we're going off that, we're already getting Sherry versus Mayu. Who are the two people left out? Saori and Momo. Come on, Stardom. You're already giving us this crazy card. Give us Saori versus Momo. You won't be sorry about it. And I will be happy as a peach if I get that match. I tell you, man, I'm on fire.
I don't even know how to follow that.
Let's move on to the next segment.
I will do. Yeah, I think that's wise. I will just say, though, just following on from something you said about, obviously, the comparisons between the Red Belt matches, for example. That Tam versus Julia feud was the hottest thing in Stardom at the time. They probably ran it a bit earlier, as we found out now, because basically they were told to take the Red Belt off Julia. But I think that this feud is hotter. And it's got higher stakes. I mean, those stakes, that career versus career, which we've never had in Stardom, it's a completely foreign concept in the company. I think that is going, and we saw the ticket sales do really, really well off the back of one match announced. It would amaze me. It really, really would amaze me if we don't see this eclipsing the attendance of the 2023 show. I know that Stardom and Taro Okada have put out 10,000 as the target. Whether they get 10,000, I don't know. It's a huge number to get. I think that they would get, and again, I said this on a podcast not long ago, I think they'll be looking internally to eclipse the number they drew to the first historic crossover. Because again, at the moment, that is their highest attendance. 7,142, I think, was the first historic crossover number. But again, that was with New Japan. They can say, well, we've drawn over 7,000 people on our own to a sole-produced show, the first Joshi promotion to do that in decades. I think that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, again, we've seen the scale. Obviously, they put in the scale out, and nothing's blocked off. Like pretty much like how Dream Queendom, they did have a good section blocked off for the stage. I wish they still sold out, but it looks like nothing's blocked off. It looks like this is set like how it's been for the All Japan women's shows in the 90s. So I don't know what it's scaled at. And again, folks, if you guys have an idea of what this scaled at, my guess is 14,000. I could be wrong. It could be 12. It could be 16. If you guys know what the scale is, please let us know. Because again, I'm a numbers person, and I just looked at the numbers a few hours ago. And again, 11 of the 18 sections are either sold out or almost sold out. So again, if anybody has any idea what Yokohama is scaled at, please let us know. So this way we can kind of have an idea of what they're going to draw out of this. But my guess, Rob, is they're probably about 4,000 or 5,000. They're probably about 4,000 tickets already sold, would be my guess, if the 11 of the 18 sections are sold out.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either, to be perfectly honest. Speaking of Azumi, obviously she'll be challenging for the Wonder of Stardom Championship at the end of the month. However, she has the opportunity to cash in an opportunity for even more gold earlier on, because on the 11th of April, she will be challenging Mina Shirakawa for the number 1 contendership for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. This is at New Japan's Windy City Riot Show. Initially, we knew that Mina Shirakawa was going to be there. Azumi, during the same promo where she challenged Starlight Kid, she also mentioned Mercedes Moné and mentioned the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Mercedes put out a really funny response, and I can't remember what it was. It was about Azumi Sushi Roll Ravi or something. It really made me laugh. But then, obviously, Mina Shirakawa said, no, I one Mercedes. They've got history dating back to Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th. Azumi obviously was a part of the three-way with Hazuki versus Mercedes Moné at Sakura Genesis, which was a really, really good match back in 2023. But they haven't wrestled one-on-one. This will now be a number one contendership match with the winner going on to Resurgence in May. I believe it is May I have written it
11th.
down somewhere. I think it's May 9th, but I could be wrong. Anyway, May sometime in Ontario, California. So that will either be Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa or Mercedes Moné versus Azumi for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Matt, are we excited, about the number one contendership match? Obviously, Azumi, this is an even earlier start to her WrestleMania week because she's here. She's then at Prestige Wrestling the next day. Then she's at Dragon Gate on the 16th. She's then got back-to-back Stardom shows as well and a show at Spark Joshi. So she's going to be a very, very, very busy little Azumi, which I'm certainly not complaining about because she is one of the most talented wrestlers in the world.
And what that's going to do is obviously she's going to cap off this big long run that she's having with the biggest match in the history of her career. She's never challenged for the Wonder of Stardom Championship in what is probably going to be the biggest and maybe the best show in Stardom history with her best rival in Starlight Kid. So basically it's going to be almost a commercial for Stardom in the United States. Again, we think that there's English commentary where it's like, where can we see more Azumi? Because she's wrestling Mina. Again, that's going to be a great match. She's wrestling High-End in Prestige Wrestling, which that show's free on YouTube. So I'm excited to watch that. And then we're going to see her in Dragon Gate. We're going to see her at the Spark Joshi show. We're going to see her at the on the Stardom shows. Who knows where else she's going to pop up that weekend? So this is going to be a really great way for Stardom to say this Azumi, again, I talk about it all the time, probably with the exception of Will Ospreay, the most talented wrestler in all of wrestling. This Azumi, if you want to see her, in the best light possible, tune into the pay-per-view on the 27th of April because she's going to be wrestling Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So again, this is a great way to get Azumi out there. And great matches. Her and Amina's had some matches before, but this one seems like it has some stakes into it. Not only that, it's going to be Azumi wrestling an AEW Mina Shirakawa. So that's going to be really cool. And then the winner goes on to wrestle Mercedes. I don't know who's going to win that one because, obviously there's something there with Mercedes and Azumi as well. And again, kudos to Andy Hedder, who kind of put this out in the ether in front of Mercedes Moné a few weeks ago in New York about, her wrestling Azumi again. This is one I don't know which way they're going to go with it. And either way, it's a win-win because Mercedes versus Mina, we know is going to be great. And Mercedes and Azumi, they didn't have that one-on-one match a few years ago, but they had that great three-way with Hazuki. So now if you put it on as a singles, I think that's going to be absolutely terrific. So either way, I'm super excited for it, my friend. Unfortunately, those New Japan shows that the Stardom Wrestling are going to be on are not my neck of the woods. And I apologize, Rob. I will not be attending said shows. And here's the part he's going to be more disappointed for. These shows are even closer than California to me. So
It's just the lack of drive that you've got, to be perfectly honest, Mr. Turner.
Drive across the country, yes.
Chicago's what? A 12-hour drive or something? Like, come on. Like, where's your initiative? Get there. Come on. No, it's obviously going to be a great match. I don't know who is going to win either myself, to be perfectly honest. I know there's been a little bit of kickback with saying, it's just another person to feed to Mercedes. But I disagree. It's a great match. That's what I'm excited about. And no one gets buried from losing this because, again, Mercedes Moné is a top talent. Azumi is 21, I think. She's got plenty of time. And it's a big drawing match. So I imagine that will, again, be, if not main eventing, certainly close to the top of the card. Do you know what? The more I'm talking about, the more I think Azumi's winning. Which is interesting when you consider that Mina Shirakawa has just left Stardom to go to AEW and then loses her first match on American soil since announcing that. But irrelevant. I think that's probably where they're going. Mercedes versus Azumi. I wonder if... I think Mercedes beats Azumi. She has another challenge against someone. Don't know who. And then I think it might be Mina Shirakawa that dethrones her.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Mina regardless, because in this way they can kind of bring, if they don't have anything for AW doesn't have anything for her, she can do these New Japan shows, and then she can go back to Japan from time to time. Because again, we'll get into it. There's still the door is open for a little match with her rival from again 2 years ago from All-Star Grand Queendom. They did a great job leaving that door open. Again, we shall get into it, but a lot of awesome things on tap, a lot of great situations. Again, very much like these big championship matches coming up at All-Star Grand Queendom. No matter who comes out, wins or loses, it's going to be great. The match is going to be great. It's going to be great for business. And whether it's Mina or Izumi versus Mercedes Monet, we are going to get a great match out of it. So at the long run, who's the winners, Rob Goodwin? These guys, and all you fantastic fans as well. I always say support and enjoy pro wrestling.
Sticking with America, and of course, we're going to Las Vegas. WrestleCon have announced that just like last year in Philadelphia, there will be Stardom meet and greet. In fact, exactly the same setup as it was in Philadelphia. Each hour there is a time slot where two of the wrestlers will be there. So there will be 6 on Saturday, the 19th of April, and there will be another 6 on Sunday, the 20th of April. The times and pairings are as follows. So on Saturday, the 19th, Azumi and Suzu Suzuki are 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Starlight Kid and Hazuki are 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's going to be interesting. Hopefully they put them well apart from each other, because we know how much they hate each other.
As well as Suzu and Izumi, too. I mean, jeez.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure I want Suzu Suzuki's autograph after the way she made May Sarah cry. That's the equivalent of kicking a puppy. And then Hanan and Saya Ida, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. So that's your Saturday lineup. The Sunday lineup at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Natsuko Tora and Syuri, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Momo Watanabe and Konami. And then your final slot for Sunday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. is Maika and Hanako. So 12 of the 14 wrestlers announced will be at WrestleCon. Of course, there's no Mina Shirakawa, who is there, but on a different table, and there is no Tekla either announced for those. But I suppose if you're going with the gimmick, I don't think Tekla will be doing that anyway, if you are thinking about it as a heel. Now, just as a reminder, this will be exactly the same as last year. So the price of $50 is per wrestler, and it gets you a signed portrait, nothing personal. So as I learned, you can't bring anything to get signed. It's a portrait that they have to hand, simply for speed, I think. And a photo with your provided camera. So 9 times out of 10, your phone. 2 adults are permitted to be in each photo, with an unlimited number of children under the age of 12. So, for example, if you are a 5th grade teacher, bring the class along. They can all get in on this one photo. Yeah, why not? The idea of Natsuko Tora standing there surrounded by 40 12-year-olds. Well, saying that, we best keep kids away from Mayu and Stars, haven't we? Because what on earth was that match? We'll be talking about that later. Just kidnapping children. But yes, so really exciting that Stardom will be doing WrestleCon again, and we will have the opportunity to meet the Stardom wrestlers. Matt, we've already talked about this a little bit. Who are you excited to see? Obviously, it's a shame that we're not going to see Hazuki again, just because big fan of Hazuki, but the fact that the big ones for me were Hanan and Sairida, who we weren't getting to see at Spark Joshi. So I'm really excited to see them. I'm excited to see Natsuko Tora because I've never met Natsuko Tora, and I'm excited to see Maika again because she's banter.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many great meet and greets, and again, those the 2 ones we may miss on Saturday are Hazuki, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki, and Izumi because of our meet and greet with Io. So that kind of took precedence over there. Yeah. So again, it's heads you wins, tails you wins. But again, we're going to get a lot of them at Spark Joshi. As far as outside of EO, the person I'm most excited to meet the most is you, Rob Goodwin. Of course, obviously, it's got to be you. See how I did that, buddy? Now he has to be on time. Now he has to be on time because I buttered the bread, folks.
I have to be. Doesn't mean I will be, though.
Oh, anywho, definitely Hazuki. Definitely Hazuki. Yeah. Super excited for that. I mean, I love Hazuki. I always say I don't have a favorite wrestler in wrestling, but if I had to choose, it would be Hazuki. Massive fan of. We're going to try. There is a small possibility we can get to that second signing with her and Starlight Kid, but regardless, we have our tickets for the Spark Joshi one, so we'll definitely get her there. Shuri we have twice. So again, that's 2 opportunities for me to ask Shuri to put me in the double wrist lock. We shall see. Tor is going to be good. Go ahead, say you're going to say something.
No, I just can't wait for the 2 chances for you to ask that, and the 2 chances for Shuri to look absolutely terrified like she did last time. She was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And you were like, no, go on, I'm asking you to.
Do it. Obviously, Micah Hanako is going to be really fun. I'm excited to see how you're gonna square up with Hanako, because obviously Rob is a very, very tall gentleman, and one of my favorite Rob photos of last year was him and May Sarah. And I remember, like, after the picture was taken, and I looked at it, and I said, "You should have got a chair and stood on top of the chair just to make the height difference."
It was basically the poster from WrestleMania 3, wasn't it? With Andre the Giant looking down on Hulk Hogan. It was, and then of course we were both doing the M pose, so I'd got the additional height of my arms on top as well. So yeah, I did look like something of a giant next to a blaster.
Yeah, but I'm all excited for that, my friend. Again, Io, Kyrie, Julia. We have our Mina Shirakawa meet and greet. So we have Tony Storm. Again, another. I talked about red belt champions. Tony Storm, former red belt champion,
Tony
will
Storm,
be meeting
of
as well.
course.
So I'm so super excited for that. A lot of them, and then obviously Muda. We're hopefully we get a chance to meet Muda, Josh Barnett, and obviously Don Fry, Minoru Suzuki. Again, there's a lot on that list, but as far as the Stardom ones go, it is Hazuki's my number one. Hazuki's my number one.
I've seen today that Evil's going to be there, so I'd quite like to meet Evil. I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
I might find his wrestling extremely boring now. Now he's a member of House of Torture, but I used to love Evil in LIJ. I thought he was one of the most underrated wrestlers. I used to really look forward to his matches in the G1. So yeah, it was quite funny because people, I wonder if Evil and Io are still together. Yes, I reckon they probably are. That's probably why he's at WrestleCon in Las Vegas. I don't think if they weren't together, he'd be rocking up to Las Vegas somehow. And he was there last year as well. I don't know if you saw that. Someone snapped a picture of him and he got a seat. So looking proper dapper in a suit as well. So I'd quite like to meet Evil and Too Sweetie. Keeping with the Las Vegas theme then, Micah's match for Bloodsport 13 is official. She will be taking on Karma Petrovic from WWE, from NXT. So it's going to be, as Josh Barnett put it on Twitter when he announced this, it's going to be judo versus karate. And actually, I did a little bit of research when it came to Karma Petrovic, because aside from the handful of matches I've seen of her on NXT, I knew very little about her. I didn't even know that she was a legit karate fighter, but she is very, very legit. So she made a Bloodsport debut at the last event in New Jersey, just battered Sumi Sakai. Like,
it was really good. It was really good. Yeah. So I'm super excited for this, because I know, again, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you just said, I've seen very little of her in NXT, but I did see her in that match with Sumi Sakai at Bloodsport. I was like, oh, I'd like to see her back. Oh, she's back. All right. And she's wrestling the Empress, fighting. Again, these are fights, folks, fighting the Empress at Bloodsport. So continues to, but I'm super pumped for it.
No, obviously we both know that Micah is a judoka. I don't know what achievement she's got, but she is a very accomplished judoka at any rate. However, Petrovic has won gold medals in the karate competition. So she's won gold medals in the Francesca Cup competition, the Ontario Provincial competition, and the Ontario Summer Olympic Games, whilst representing Ontario and Canada in karate. So in terms of karate, she's fairly well established, I'd say.
She's competing in the Olympics? I didn't know this. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you said? The Ontario Olympics?
The Ontario Summer Olympic Games. I don't think it's the full Olympics.
Oh.
I know where you're going.
No. I wasn't going to go Kurt Angle.
I thought you were going to do a Kurt Angle thing.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I only know a little bit of her background because I looked a little bit up after that thing with Sumi Sakai. I didn't know that, but that is now I'm even more jazzed for that match. Yeah, I'm super excited for that one. My big thing is I'm gonna put it out there for our Stardom fans. WWE will not have the wrestlers lose on these shows. So I have a feeling that that Micah may be eating the L here. Not unless he goes to business for himself. Josh Barnett has been very adamant when he books these shows that they are his shows. And if they can't decide on who's going to win, he said to go out there and make it as a shoot. So I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to see how this goes because it'll be my first Bloodsport event, but also the striking versus the grappling is going to be a really, really interesting thing. And obviously, we've never seen Micah in this sort of situation. Obviously, we know she's got background in judo, as we mentioned. We know that she's an established judoka, as again I've mentioned, but to see her in this sort of atmosphere where it's not Stardom, where she's going to be wrestling someone who's also very, very accomplished in a different discipline, that's going to be really, really exciting. And then on top of that, just in case that match wasn't enough for you to want to come to Bloodsport, we've also got Pete Dunne versus Timothy Thatcher, Natty Neidhart versus Miyu Yamashita. Announced today, we've got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jonathan Gresham. We've also got Charlie Dempsey versus Shinya Aoki. It is a stacked card. We are very spoiled. Josh Barnett is spoiling us, and again, we don't know who Josh Barnett's opponent is yet on this card.
Or Minoru Suzuki. I don't know. Is Suzuki announced yet?
Suzuki.
He's announced it.
I don't know if he has actually announced yet.
My guess is it's gonna be Josh versus Suzuki because they did Bloodsport 5 years ago, and it went to it. We actually did it for a watch along, and it's one of my favorite Bloodsport matches ever. Yeah, so we don't know Konami's opponent, we don't know Josh's opponent. Again, my guess is because Josh and Minoru are very, very close. They're very good friends. Obviously, we know Minoru Suzuki is in the area, so yeah, he's on all these WrestleMania Bloodsport shows, and he draws really well. So my guess is it's gonna be Josh versus. Again, maybe I'm just throwing it out there in the ether because I'm doing really well with it. I want to see Josh Barnett versus Minoru Suzuki. Literally, Carl Gotch versus Billy Robinson. Carl Gotch, trained fighter versus a Billy Robinson trained fighter. The two best, obviously both have passed away. The two best modern day coaches of catch wrestling, the grappling that I love the best. But regardless, my man, I'm super excited for that show. That might be the show, depending on how the Stardom show shakes out, that might be the show I'm looking forward to the most, at least on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. I'm really excited for that. And again, I can't think of many people better that I'll put Micah with. Obviously, we weren't going to get Miyu Yamashita, although that would have been also very, very good. Moving on slightly then, just to briefly add on to what we said last week, we said that Tam Nakano is going to be featuring on the Pro Wrestling Wave show on April the 5th. Where she is going to be taking on Yuki Miyazaki. Again, Yuki going on something of a retirement tour before she retires on January 1st, 2026. But something I didn't say was that Saya Kamatani is also going to be on that show. She's going to be facing Sakura Hirota in a special singles match. Of course, Saya Kamatani coming off the back of a Regina the Wave Championship title defense against Hanukkah. That show, again, April 5th, Karaya Wave Volume 5. From Karaya City. So an exciting card there for Pro Wrestling Wave. Just before we move on, there's a couple of things. Two main positives, ones that we're going to be delving into when we go into the card previews later on. Both Starlight Kid and Natsupoi have been announced to be returning from injury. They are both making their return to action on the 10th of April in Osaka. So good news, Starlight Kid is going to be fitting well, fingers crossed, for Las Vegas, and obviously more importantly for All-Star Grand Queendom. Natsupoi was initially announced for the Korakuen Hall show. She wrestled the T-Heart's 5th anniversary show on the 30th and looks like she re-aggravated the injury in her ankle. So caution was exercised and she was pulled from Korakuen, but she is back for the 10th of April. And we'll go through those cards very, very shortly. Starlight Kid teaming with Tam Nakano in the main event of that show against Saya Kamatani and Ruaka. A couple of interviews were live this week as well, Matt. And I don't know if you saw these. Did you happen to catch any of Mina Shirakawa's interview with Yuji Nagata?
I did catch a little bit of it. We're basically saying a lot of her idea to go to AEW is based off after her, and I'm paraphrasing if I'm wrong, was her really short Wonder of Stardom championship run. I find that, again, I might have lost that in translation, but I was like, ooh, that was kind of the spark that set it off. It's just like, that's very interesting.
Well, we've both said, haven't we, that it was a very strange decision after, building her up and sort of the story that was, organically grown by Stardom to have her take the belt from Saya Kamatani to then lose it after less, either just over a month or just below a month. I think it was 34 days. And she was for the longest time the shortest reigning Wonder of Stardom champion. It's not surprising, really. I think it would do my confidence a whole host of damage as well. And there's rumors that one party wanted Mirai as the white belt champion, one party wanted Mina Shirakawa, so they did Mina for a short amount of time, for Tam to take it off her, and then for Mirai to take it off Tam. For ultimately, the main point was to get the belt on Mirai. So, unfortunately, Mina Shirakawa appears to be a little bit of a casualty of that. Again, all of that is unsubstantiated. It's what we've sort of gleaned. What I wanted to say was, though, and something that was quite interesting to me was the bit Mina was talking about Rossi Ogawa, and said that Rossi would say things, just to sort of tease her a little bit. I think she said, sort of try and get her fired up by teasing her, and called her the gatekeeper of the undercard, which is a bit savage. I'm not gonna lie, and Mina says that it did build a fire in her, which I think was probably Rossi's intention. At least that's the way Mina's framing it. She did say, though, it did get to her, and understandably, if that's how you're perceived by the person who's running your company, obviously it can be rather demoralizing.
Yeah, at the same time, though, take that as fuel. You know what I mean? And obviously,
And
that's what she did. That's what she did. That's what she did. She went and she took it as fuel. And again, she made herself a main eventer in Stardom, made herself a main eventer in AEW. Obviously, a big draw, and is going to be obviously starting in AEW relatively in a very short amount of time. So, yeah, she obviously took, and maybe that's what Rossi was doing. Maybe Rossi, not only just Rossi Vice and a dapper gentleman, he's a genius as well. Maybe he saw that there was a lot of potential in Mina Shirakawa, kind of maybe a little fire underneath her. And it worked because, again, great run in the 2022 5-star Grand Prix. That chase to Saya Kamatani's white belt had ultimately, in my opinion, the best match on All-Star Grand Queendom in 2023 when she won the Wonder of Stardom Championship again for Saya Kamatani, and has been doing really well for herself. And we kind of talked about it. It really seems ever since she's been kind of coming back and forth to and from Japan and AEW with the United States, hasn't anything major to do. Like, still obviously great in the ring, but and again, we'll talk about the end of the show. She probably had her best match in recent memory in years with that Korakuen Hall match with Micah. But yeah, it's very interesting, but I think the whole idea with Rossi saying that was to light a fire underneath her, and clearly it worked because he got a major main eventer and a huge star out of Mina Shirakawa, and Mina's only going to go on to do bigger and better things, wrestling on TNT and TBS, two worldwide cable providers.
Yeah, absolutely. Another interview that has come out this week was Tekla's interview with PWI, where she perhaps made the most thinly veiled references to wanting to wrestle in America in the world. Now, we knew that this was heavily rumored that this was where sort of Tekla was sort of looking and scouting between her sort of mini break after the end of 2023 into when she came back and joined Hate in 2024. She mentioned, or she name dropped Mercedes Moné and sort of picked out the fact that she's got too many belts and sort of put herself in the ring to potentially take one of those belts. Tekla wanting to wrestle in the US has been sort of the worst kept secret in Stardom to a certain extent. I think she suits the American style, and we've said that before. And honestly, for her, I hope she gets it. If that's what she wants to do, I hope she gets that opportunity. Because I can see her wrestling in a TNA or, some of the big fed sort of indie federations over there. I think she'd do really well in that sort of area. Again, I think she's doing good work in Stardom. Again, we talked about, we're going to be talking about, Korakuen Hall, where she was doing good stuff there. She isn't on a lot of the shows, really, when you think about it. She's only on either the big pay-per-views or Korakuens. So I don't think Stardom will feel the loss, in the same way that they'll feel Mina. But again, it's interesting that Tekla has brought this up in an interview, and I do wonder if she's someone that will make the jump sooner rather than later as well.
Yeah, we mentioned this a few times before. Obviously, she's great. I think she'd be terrific with the American style because of just how great she's an American style heel and cuts a really great promo and is able to have that really excellent next level crowd psychology. So TNA, I mean, if you think about it, one of the biggest, if not the biggest star over there in NXT is her buddy Julia. So I'm sure Julia can, pull a few strings and get her. Not that she would need them because I think she'd fit in really well with the NXT roster. Then you put in that coaching from Matt Bloom, Steve Corino, Shawn Michaels. I mean, she'll really, really flourish there. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Or even if she doesn't want to re-sign with Stardom, let her float around as a freelancer. Japan, the United States. You're right. Like, NWA, MLW. I think she'd be doing really, really terrific stuff there. So it's interesting to see where Tekla's going to land. But I think if they kind of just let her go and spread her wings a little bit, and then I think the world can just see how truly talented Tekla is on every single level, whether it's the American style, the European style, the lucha style. Plus, she's a great promo, is great at character work, and speaks several different languages. So I think that would be huge for Tekla. I totally agree. I hope she gets it. I hope she gets everything that she wants because Tekla's an absolutely fantastic, fantastic performer.
And you can find all of that news over at talkjoshi.com, where we've got all sorts over there just waiting for you, include all of our archived episodes and our bite-sized show reports, which brings us to, Matt, the first of the 4 shows we are going to be looking at today, because of course New Blood 20, which aired on the 27th of March on YouTube, it aired on the day we record, so we hadn't got a chance to watch it, or should I say I hadn't, but it's all right, Matt hadn't either, thank God for that. So we're going to do it today. This, of course, New Blood 20, as I mentioned, Thursday, the 27th of March. The attendance, 296 inside Shinagawa Intercity Hall in Tokyo. Now, me and Matt have spoken a couple of times on this podcast about the rapidly decreasing attendances at New Blood shows and what was needed to be put into place to sort of stop the rot, if you will. And I use that phrase very loosely. But this is a 66.29% increase from the last New Blood event. Now, when you consider that last New Blood event, New Blood 19, 178 people in the exact same venue on March 1st for New Blood 19, it's a massive increase. And you look at this show and you look at New Blood 19. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed New Blood 19. The idea of that one-night tournament to crown the number 1 contenders for the New Blood tag titles, I thought that was a really good concept to have for this New Blood show. However, you look at New Blood 20, there's Tam on there, there's Saya Kamatani on there, there's Hanan on there. There are big names on there, and the attendance mirrors that. This is the highest New Blood attendance for a New Blood show since New Blood 15 in September of 2024. So that gives you, again, some indication of just how much of an impact that did have. In terms of your results, they are as follows. So in singles action, Rina defeated Ann Kanai with a diving double knee drop in 10 minutes and 5 seconds. In a tag team match, Tomoka Inaba and Akira Kuragane defeated Sayaka Kurora and Uriah Hime, with Tomoka Inaba tapping out Uriah Hime with the just face lock in 12 minutes and 12 seconds. In a tag team match, the Wingori team of Hanan and Saya Ida defeated Rian and Kiori Oniyama, with Saya Ida pinning Rian with the lariat in 9 minutes and 26 seconds. In a tag team match, Tei Honma making her Stardom debut, and Sho Sakaguchi, they defeated the God's Eye team of Hina and Rani Yagami. Tei Honma submitting Yagami with the tail lock in 10 minutes and 53 seconds. Slight tangent, Tei Honma announcing her retirement from pro wrestling in October of this year. 6-woman tag match next. The Hate team of Saya Kamatani, Ruaka, and Azusa Inaba defeated the Pro Wrestling Wave representatives of Honoka, Kohaku, and Sarin. Ruaka pinning Honoka, with the freezer bomb in 12 minutes and 5 seconds in what was a preview for the upcoming Regina the Wave Championship match between Kamatani and Honoka on April 1st. Semi-main event singles match. Tam Nakano defeated Misa Kagura with the Tiger Suplex in 14 minutes and 58 seconds. That match was supposed to take place months ago in Just Tap Out, but was unfortunately postponed just due to Misa's injury. Of course, that took place here. Was a really good match. And then in your main event, Rice or Bread, Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama defended their New Blood tag team titles for a second time against the Sakura Demon team of Aya Sakura and Yuna Mizumori. Hanako submitting Aya with the Shirasagi in 17 minutes and 48 seconds. Matt, obviously, Anna Kagura, oh my God, Ann Kanaya. There we go. She's only been on the roster for just over a week, which is madness to say. Good God, is she talented. I thought she had a tremendous match against Yuna Mizumori, and then had another great exchange at Korakuen with Yuna Mizumori. But I think this might have been even better. She is a very, very, very talented wrestler. And to be doing the stuff that she's doing, like I said last week, after only a week of proper in-ring competition, in singles matches as well, there's no hiding. You can't get tagged out. She's doing this on her. I think she's doing a tremendous job. And of course, she's standing across the ring from someone who is doing the best work of her career in Rina.
Rina's young career. She's only 18 years old. And that's
18 years old.
That's what I want to point out. Obviously, Ann Kanai here, I believe this is only her second match. And she was terrific here. And Rina, even though she's been wrestling for 19 years, is only 18 years old. Rina, she led this match. And obviously, we know we're going to Ann Kanai. It's only her second match. But for someone at the age of 18 to lead somebody in a 10-minute match, and it's this good, and for Ann Kanai to be able to keep up and follow along with what Rina's calling and putting together, is nothing short of incredible. Again, this was terrific. You may mention not only is she talented in the ring, but as soon as, she's got that charisma, that aura, she's got that great crowd energy that you can feel, from her entrance, not only from her entrance from the ring, our entrance in the ring and coming out from her entranceway, so you can feel that. And she's terrific in the ring. Her timing, her pacing, her ring positioning, I thought was great. Rina did a great job highlighting her, putting her big moves where they needed to go to get the most impact. This was a terrific match to start off a fantastic show and just shows the real talent, the deep talent roster that is Stardom. Again, Ann Kanai, only her second or third match, having this great match with somebody that's only 18 years old. Obviously, we know Rina's fantastic. She had that match of the year contender with Starlight Kid back at the Path of Thunder, dun, 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 and Rock and Roll for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So this was just another great outing. I had it 3 3/4 stars.
Moving on then, tag team action. Tomoka Inaba tapping out Uriah Hime. And it seems that even though Uriah Hime is taking a lot of falls, and we are going to be talking about that obviously over the next couple of shows, to me at least, it feels like she seems to be the main focus at the moment out of the two. Between her and Akira Kuragani, I don't know whether it's because Uriah Hime is a more emotive wrestler. We saw everything from the look of absolute distress whilst being locked in the just face lock to the absolute joy of being locked in the Kuma. So, I wonder if that's something to do with it. Of course, both women are very talented and I'm sure are going to do great things. I've said multiple times that I'm a big fan of Akira Kuragani, but it does feel like Stardom have sort of picked Uriah Hime, and at least for the moment are saying, right, let's see what you can do.
Yeah, sometimes it's just, let's see what you can do. And then when it's Akira's time or the pieces fit or the storyline makes sense, it's her time to shine as well. Because I thought Akira was great in all these shows we're going to talk about. And she was terrific here. And even if you look, again, if you're watching on YouTube, look at this match graphic. Akira and Tomoka Inaba look like they've been teaming for 2 or 3 years. They're just like two people that are going to legit kick your head off. And they kind of have matching gear as well. So, again, I think maybe Akira, once we decide what's going, again, there's going to be, it looks like that come in the month of May, there's going to be some major faction shakeup. And again, we'll talk about that after Cork. And I think that she fit really well in with God's Eye, especially, teaming with Tomoka Inaba, because I thought they worked really well together. Sayaka Kurora was great here. I would love to see a big singles match with Sayaka Kurora and Tomoka Inaba somewhere down the line, because they worked really well. And again, we've seen them on opposite sides of the ring several times. Uriah Hime and Akira, really great chemistry with each other this early on in their young respective careers. It's only going to get bigger and better for the two of them. I thought this was a terrific match that ultimately towards the end highlighted Tomoka Inaba, and rightfully so. I actually had this at three. What did I have this at? 4 stars. No, I had this at 4 stars. I liked it that much. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, there were a lot of really great back and forth stuff with Sayaka Kurora and Tomoka Inaba.
Yeah, agree. And I also agree that Tomoka Inaba and Akira Kurogane worked really well together. We've talked before about Akira Kurogane as a shoe-in for God's Eye when we do get this, what feels like an inevitable faction shift, especially with the actions of Korakuen Hall. And again, I think Akira, although saying that, maybe Akira Kurogane could go to this new faction that may or may not be debuting. I feel like she might be a good fit for that one as well.
You mean Queen's Quest? Yeah.
Okay. I do, yes. King's Journey.
That's right. No, that's the faction in Marigold.
Oh, that's Marigold.
Yeah, it's Lean Floor and Mirai. Yeah, King's Journey. That's right.
Wingori versus Rian and Kaori Oniyama. This was a good match. What I enjoy though is the fact that Rian and Kaori Oniyama made a point at the end of New Blood 18 to say that now going to challenge for the New Blood Tag Team Championships, and they have not won a match since, which makes me laugh. But yeah, this was good. I don't think it was as good as the previous match, but the previous match was really good. This was solid.
I know this is a non-title match, Rob, but they're somewhat right. We're going to challenge for the New Blood Tag Team Championship. This is the former New Blood Tag Team Champions and the current goddess of Stardom. So, I guess maybe they were kind of going in the right direction. Regardless, this was a fun match. I really like the comedic duo and just how much fun that they're having. You see, they're having so much fun, Rian and Kaori Oniyama. And again, you know that Rian is learning a lot from Kaori, not only in the ring, but probably before the match and after the match, because Kaori has a wealth of knowledge in pro wrestling, not only from a character aspect, but from an in-ring aspect as well. So you know that there's a lot of little nuggets that Rian is probably picking up from Kaori Oniyama. It's only going to make Rian even a better wrestler than she already is, because again, she's another one of these young crop of rookies or year-plus wrestlers that is constantly getting better each and every show. Rob Goodwin, it does not hurt when you have arguably the best tag team in all the world standing across the ring from you in about a 10-minute match. Solid match, really good stuff, really fun stuff. I like how we saw at the last New Blood show where Kaori Oniyama helps Rian out with the O'Connor roll. I really like that spot. It doesn't go as smoothly as one Pat O'Connor probably dreamed it up to be back, a generation or two ago. But ultimately, I think it's a really fun spot. But really good stuff. Great tag work, obviously, with Hanan and Saida. They're on a completely another level with Saida eventually putting away Rian with the lariat. I had this at 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, it was a good match. I am intrigued to know who has imparted more knowledge, more useful knowledge to young Rian, whether it is Kaori Oniyama or drunk Uncle Micah. I do wonder who has been sort of imparting the relevant wrestling knowledge and who has been sneaking her beers. What we'll see.
Rob, maybe we find that out as a Stardom Cast exclusive on Easter Sunday when we meet Micah.
On Easter Sunday, what better way to spend your Easter Sunday than asking Micah about passing beers to? Oh no, she's not underage now, is she? So it doesn't matter. Moving on then, Hina and Rani Yagami versus Tei Honma and Sho Sekiguchi. Sho Sekiguchi, who we haven't seen since the Himika retirement show in 2023. Can you believe that we are almost 2 years removed from Himika's retirement? Absolutely wild how quick time has gone. But Matt, Tei Honma's Stardom debut, what did you think?
This was awesome. This actually made it
very, very good.
This actually made it into my top 5 favorite matches from this past week. This was my favorite match from this show. This was great, and considering the fact I've only seen a little bit of Tei Honma and am I saying it right? Sekiguchi? Am I saying her name right?
Sho Sekiguchi, yeah.
Sekiguchi. I don't think I've ever, other than a few matches here and there, I haven't seen much of her. And obviously, Hina and Rana, I've seen all of their matches over the last few. I've seen every Rana Yagami match, but like with God's Eye teaming, Hina usually teams with Lady C. Rana either teams with Tomoka or Shuri. So it's like it's kind of just 2 random members of God's Eye. Let's go out there and see what happens. And this one, I figured it would be good. This one blew me away by how good it was. I mean, you want to talk about a match overachieving. This was terrific. And there was, the non-Stardom team of Sakaguchi and Hama. They did like the Jumping Bomb Angels double dropkick at the same time, which I thought was great because I haven't seen that in a long, long time. There's really great stuff, great back and forth action, some really hard-hitting stuff with Tehama and Rana Yugami, which I know Tay's retiring soon, but I would love to see a singles match with the two of them somewhere down the line. And Rana and Hina, they were great together as a tag team. Again, something I didn't expect. Just an excellent, excellent match with eventually, though, Rana getting Tehama tapping Rana Yugami out. Interesting finish, considering where we're going with Rana Yugami in just about a few weeks' time. Stretching her, tapping her out with the stretch muffler. Again, this completely blew me away by how great it was. I had it 4.25 stars. And again, one of my favorite Joshi / women's matches of last week.
Yeah, this was my favorite match on the card. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I expected when it was sort of middle of the road, I expected it to be good, but yeah, nothing on what it was. And again, I think we are going to see very soon the benefits from Hina of being in a Stardom ring week after week after week, as opposed to when the school schedule allows. She's going to build those relationships with members of God's Eye, Rani Yagami, Lady C especially, as Teen Classroom. I feel like we're going to see that development more and more, which is very exciting, especially she's the Future of Stardom champion. Now, Matt, you did mention that you were not intrigued, but you were surprised that Rani Yagami was the one who was submitted here. Not as surprised as I was that it was Honoka that got pinned in the next match, Hate versus Pro Wrestling Wave. Obviously, Saya Kamatani versus Honoka is the match. It was the main event of Pro Wrestling Wave's Korakuen Hall show. Presumably, you want to build Honoka up. And you had Saren on the other side, who, I don't think it matters if she eats the pin. Hell, roll up Kohaku. That's absolutely fine. To have, and obviously tells half a story. We had the hate crate, as I'm calling it from now on.
I love it. I love it. The next shit on fourth wall / Talk Joshi.
Just beware the hate crate. That I might actually do that. That sounds good.
We need to do a Stardom Cast 22 shirt as well. We'll talk off air.
I like it. Yeah, the match was really good. And I liked the fact that we did get a lot of Honoka in this match. She was on the back foot for a lot of it, which is certainly the storyline of going against Saya Kamatani, where Honoka is the underdog. However, I do feel like someone else could have taken the pinfall, even if it was courtesy of a lot of interference and usual hate shenanigans, Matt.
Not only that, but if you're going to have her lose to Saya Kamatani. This way you're still building the heat. I didn't understand that. And again, I understand New Blood's not Korakuen Hall. It's not Flashing Champions. It's not, KBS Hall. But at the same time, it's like, the whole reason why you have this match is to build some anticipation of Pro Wrestling Wave. Granted, the Saya Kamatani Hanako exchanges were amazing. They were fantastic. I mean, again, Saya Kamatani's just, we're a quarter into this year. She's the rest of the year for me. And there's only great things for her on tap. She was terrific here. Kohaku obviously was terrific. And Saren, we've seen a few times before. So this trio on the opposite end of hate, I thought they were terrific together. Ruaka always plays her role really right because she has the hate crate. I love that, buddy. I hate that. I hate that. I love that. And I hate it. How about that? Azusa, she's terrific. Again, she's really been coming into her own these last few shows, especially during the Cinderella tournament. Really somebody to watch out for. And again, it's a question that I brought up to you the other day, and we will talk about in the Korakuen Hall show. I don't know if she should have been wrestling on said show because it was a school night. Again, we'll get there. But ultimately, this was a great match. 3 3/4 stars. It made me really interested to watch that Pro Wrestling Wave match once it does drop on Stardom World because, again, Kamatani and Hanako had some really great chemistry. But again, 3 3/4 stars. Excellent match. Yeah, I disagree with the finish. If you're going to have any member of that team lose, don't have it be your number one contender. But if you really want to have her get pinned, have Kamatani pin her, because then maybe it could make it look like that Hanako is going to try to get her win back and win back the Wave Championship.
Yeah, it was an odd one certainly, and Honoka is incredibly talented. We've seen her a couple of times on these New Blood shows, and she's always really, really impressed me. I think there was a tag match at New Blood 16 where she was particularly impressive. And I know that the match against Saya Kamatani at Korakuen was good as well. But yeah, it did make a great deal of sense. I don't think Hanukkah needed to eat the pin at all. I don't think she needed to eat it to Saya Kamatani. I don't think it needed to happen. But that being said, still a good match. You had Kohaku as the powerhouse. You had Saren, who came in as a ball of energy. And you had Hanukkah again, who was sort of the linchpin for this entire match, both playing offense and defense as well. And again, incredibly talented as well. But as the match was given the sort of the name, the Regina de Wave preview match, to then have the person of the championship match lose was an odd decision, certainly. Semi-main event then, the singles match, Tam Nakano and Misa Kagura. Really enjoyed this match. Really, really, really enjoyed it. Not only because of Misa's fiery exchanges, her fighting spirit, and just that closing stretch where Tam is physically shouting for Misa to get up, hit me again. Okay, we're not done yet. You get up, you hit me again, and then she delivers this crunching forearm, and Tam's like, right, now I'm going to pin you. Good. Okay. And Tam was almost like trying desperately to bring out even more fighting spirit from Misa Kagura. Misa Kagura almost feeling like she had to prove herself to Tam. And it worked really well. It was a well-paced match. It was an enjoyable match. Misa Kagura felt like a really good, again, I hate to use the phrase underdog so many times, but an underdog opponent for Tam, who at the moment, despite the fact that she's on a retirement road, feels like she's doing some of the best in-ring work. But yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Robbie, you took the words right out of my head. Again, Tam may or may not be on the retirement road. Wink. The work that she's been doing great. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a massive Tam fan, which I am, but she's been doing great work for a long time. But she's really, and again, if this is her somewhat retirement, she's really emptying the gas tank here. You know, what she's doing on these New Blood shows, what she's been doing on the Stardom shows, the match she had with Soriano was, again, we're going to get into it. Holy
Jesus Christ.
And if she has this much momentum going into Yokohama as far as like timing, work rate, obviously her and Kamatani together is just a money pair. I'm interested, excited, and scared what's going to happen in Yokohama. And we've talked about that before off air and on air. But I thought this was great. Tam brought out the absolute best in Misa Kagura. Again, we've seen her a few times before. She's somebody that's really impressed me. She was terrific here. And again, Tam made sure that she looked good in the right spots, built her up in this match to ultimately beat her. Again, I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. If Tam were just to go out here and make this like a 75-25 match or an 80-20 match, like then who did you really beat? But she does a great job beating up, giving Misa Kagura a lot, making her show fire, making her show that, hey, I belong here on one of these shows that's represented by Stardom. And I would love to see Misa Kagura in Stardom ring proper somewhere in time, her versus Rana Yugami or Soriano or Momo Watanabe, I thought would be terrific. So again, kudos to Tam to really be able to bring her up to honor level and then ultimately just to beat her with the Tiger Suplex. Really great stuff here. Almost 15 minutes this went, gave it enough time to really tell a story. Sometimes when you get that much time in a match that you have a big star like Tam and someone that's really just coming up can kind of get lost in the shuffle. That didn't happen at all. This told a really, really good slow build story. Excellent stuff. This is my third favorite match of this phenomenal show. I had this at the solid 4 stars, buddy.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite New Blood shows they've done since the start of the run, I must admit.
I agree.
In terms of just consistent match quality, there have been better matches, certainly. I mean, Utami versus Miyu Hamasaki is one that immediately jumps out to me. There have been better matches, but in terms of a top to tail, great card, consistent wrestling. I mean, there was no match that was a disappointment. There was no match that we'd say, skip this, you don't need to see it, which sometimes it does feel like a couple of the New Blood matches you can skip, you don't need to see. But everything on this was great. And that was obviously epitomized by this main event, which was Rice or Bread versus Sakura Demon. And I must admit, I was a little bit unaware of the length of the history between Aya Sakura and Hanako. I didn't realize that they actually didn't just debut at the same time. They turned up to the tryouts at the same time as well. turned up for the Cinderella tryouts, both got in. I believe I read somewhere, and I can't remember who this is from, but I'm sure that Aya Sakura turned up thinking it was an audition for Mayu Iwatani's movie. And it turned out to be an audition it was the Cinderella auditions for Stardom, which we're going to be talking about the Cinderella auditions at Korakuen, because they've changed the name, and we're also getting a TV Asahi sort of TV program to follow that as well. But sort of Aya Sakura cited Hanako as a big inspiration for her, which I thought was really, really nice. And obviously, this sort of led into this rivalry. And then we had the post match, which we'll talk about when we get there. But that fire that we had at the start between Hanako and Aya Sakura was brilliant. And unfortunately, it was poor Waka Tsukiyama who took the brunt of Aya Sakura's anger, especially with those kicks on the outside when poor Waka Tsukiyama was trying to flee.
Yeah, this was a great match to end a great show. And shout out to Andy Hedder, because I did not know this. Rob Goodwin, do you know what Sakura translates to in Japanese?
Cherry?
Cherry blossoms.
Yes.
Which is the name of her kick trio. I didn't know that until Andy Hedder brought it up when we just recorded Talk Joshi. And I said, do you know that's the name of her kick trio? He's like, I did not. And I was like, oh, I will talk about it on the Stardom Cast proper this week. So kudos.
Big ups Andy Hedder.
Kudos to Andy Hedder, who has been studying Japanese quite a bit. He does know like some of the language. When we met Tenzan, he talked to him in Japanese. And I just said, Bread Club Kojima. That's all I said to Tenzan. But anywho, this is a great match. Again, for how great this show was, this was a great exclamation point. And you're absolutely right. Really great job highlighting Aya and Hanako at the start of this match, where they're both using the headlock exchanges to get over on one another. Obviously, Hanako has the size and strength advantage, where Aya does a great job breaking her down and trying to get her on the mat using those great submission skills that she has. Obviously, Sakura Damon here, excellent double teamwork. Both teams really, but especially Sakura Damon. Excellent stuff, the stuff that we saw in the Goddess of Stardom tournament last year, the kicks into the lariat, the kick and lariat sandwiches from Aya and Yuna Mizumori. I thought that was excellent stuff there. We get a really nice shoulder tackle and lariat tackle off between Yuna and Hanako. I thought that was really good. I liked how they've done this a few times before, and to me it didn't make any sense, where Yuna and Aya, they do the double triangle choke. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because like where you're trying to put your legs, you're basically pulling the submission away from the other person. That doesn't make any sense. And when they locked it on here, I was like, they definitely workshopped this and made it work. And I thought that was really good. I was like, that's terrific. Because I'm like, from a grappling aspect, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why are they doing that? And eventually they workshopped it. I'm like, oh, hey, what do I know? I thought that was really good. Excellent stuff there. Hanako, and I liked how Hanako, they kept building up the Shirokage over and over again. It was just like, is she locking it in? The standing triangle. She goes to lock it in. Aya gets away. Aya winds up getting away a couple times, comes off with the kicks. That was a really good stretch there. Hanako then hits a massive lariat onto Aya, and then Waka is able to hit a drop kick and a side suplex combination onto Yuna that basically gets rid of her. And then eventually this Shirasagi, the standing triangle choke, Aya Sakura on the tap out. Really great match and a really great show. This match, my second favorite of the show, another 4.25 star match for me, my friend. And now that I'm looking over my notes from the show a week ago, which seems like 2 weeks ago, considering everything that happened, I have 4 matches on this show that were at 4 stars or better. That's how great this show was.
I must admit that the way that Hanako ragdolls some of the roster around with the Shirasagi is so good. I know that she doesn't do it to everyone, but that simply means that when she does, it feels so much more impactful. And yeah, this was a fantastic match, thoroughly enjoyable. Like, I know we're focusing a lot on Aya Sakura and Hanako, and that's because that's where a lot of the story for the feud was. But Yuna Mizumori is fantastic. She really, really is, and so is Waka. But I feel like Yuna doesn't get enough credit sometimes in these matches that she's so damn good in. Post-match, Aya Sakura cuts this really impassioned promo. Not quite Takumi Iroha and Nanae Takahashi impassioned, but good God.
Riot.
An absolute riot in Korakuen Hall. But this was certainly a very impassioned promo where she said she respects Hanako. She was inspired by her to first become a wrestler when, obviously, as I mentioned, they turned up to thinking, or Aya did anyway, turned up to what she thought were auditions for the Mayu Utani wrestler film. And then on top of that, she was then inspired by watching Hanako when Aya Sakura was recovering from injury. She was out for at least half of 2023. I think she went off with injury in July 2023, didn't come back till the start of 2024. So watching Hanako wrestle during that time inspired her. And you could tell that Hanako was slightly taken aback by the promo, which made it all the more organic and all the more lovely. Really, it was a really nice, touching moment. And rather than just your stereotypical, right, next challenge is you're out, we put a nice bow on this feud between Hanako and Aya, and that made this feel a lot more special. And again, this was certainly one of the most solid New Blood cards that we've had. So fingers crossed when New Blood 21 rolls around at the end of April, we will get a similarly solid card. But Matt, that might be one show down, but we have still got 3 to go through. So we will waste no time whatsoever, and we will be heading to Tokorozawa. What have I missed, Matt Turner?
Nothing. I'm just going to say an exclamation point after these 3 shows is a phenomenal Io and Kairi watch. So keep staying tuned because, oh boy, howdy, what a great match she had. Anywho, rolling right along, my man. Let's go to Akira Tozawa. Let's go.
Let's go to Tokorozawa 2025 in March, the 29th of March, live on Stardom World. Just a reminder on this show, Natsupoi still off the card, Starlight Kid still off the card, Momo Watanabe off the card, and Saki Kashima as well off all of the cards that we're going to be talking about with poor health. Obviously, we wish nothing but the best to all of those. The attendance then inside of Saitama Tokorozawa Sakura Town Hall, Japan Pavilion Hall A, to give it its full name, was 453 people. It's the 5th time Stardom have run the venue. It's also a 39.38% increase on the last time they ran the venue, which, speaking of New Blood, was the 326 people they drew for New Blood 15 in September 2024. In terms of your results, then, that is as follows. In your opening tag team match, EXV, Micro and Mina Shirakawa, they defeated Rian and Uriah Hime, with Mina Shirakawa submitting Uriah Hime with the figure 4 leg lock in 11 minutes and 22 seconds. Rina defeated Akira Kurogane with the hydrangea in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. Rice or Bread, Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama, they defeated the team of Miyu Amasaki and Ann Kanaya, with Hanako battering Ann Kanaya with a lariat in 9 minutes and 52 seconds. In a 6-woman tag, the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora, they defeated the Stars team of Hazuki Koguma and Momo Kogo, Yuna Mizumori pinning Momo Kogo with the Supergirl in 9 minutes and 13 seconds. Another 6-woman tag followed that. The Stars team of Mayu, Hanan, and Sayurida defeated the Hate team of Natsuko, Tora, Konami, and Ruaka, and Mayu pinning the Violent Freezer Ruaka with the Moonsault in 12 minutes and 27 seconds. In your semi-main event, then, we had the God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba, Hina, Lady C, and Rani Yagami. They defeated the team of Azumi, Suzu Suzuki, Mei Seira, and Tabata, with Rani Yagami pinning Tabata with the buzzsaw kick in 12 minutes and 53 seconds. And then in your main event, a brilliant tag team match, Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano and Saori Ano defeated the Hate team of Saya Kamatani and Azusa Inaba, Saori Ano pinning Azusa Inaba with the pottering in 13 minutes and 38 seconds. So, Matt, we'll get straight into this card, and the opener, a decent opener, let's be perfectly honest. Maika and Mina Shirakawa taking on Uriah Hime and Rian. What were your thoughts on this? The last time we will see Mina Shirakawa and Maika tag together, which is quite a sad little milestone, especially for Maika.
Yeah, again, you have your former red belt champion and your former white belt champion going up against someone's only in their first year of wrestling and someone coming out of their first year of wrestling. So the veterans do a really great job dominating in the beginning, giving the rookies a little bit to shine up, making them look credible for ultimately then for just Mina to kind of just put away Uriah Hime, work on the leg and put her away with the figure 4 leg lock. three and a half stars for me. Again, a solid enough match. Again, Mina and Mikey, your two big your two big main eventers in this match, giving the younger wrestlers enough to shine. They did a great job. Really great fire. Obviously, Rihan, somebody that is ever improving each and every match, like a majority of this roster. And Uriah Himmy, someone who's only been wrestling a handful of months. You think that she's wrestling a handful of years. And Mike and Mina do a really good job building them up, only for Mina to break down Uriah Himmy's knee and then locking her in the figure four leg lock again. Really great tag stuff with Mike and Mina. Kind of wonder what was, what would have been like if they were in the tag league, this last tag league together as a team. It would have made it somehow even better. But regardless, Rob, I guess maybe that's a future what if episode. But a solid match to start this really good show. Again, 3.5 stars for me.
Moving on to the singles match then, Rina and Akira Kurogane. Now, we spoke about how well Rina did in the match with Nanae. This was equally good. And I thought that their styles melded really, really well. Rina is a star. Let's not beat around the bush. She is a star. She's no longer a star in the making. She feels like appointment viewing. And full credit goes to her for embracing this bratty little gimmick, but continuing to improve in ring, where she's able to put on these really, really good undercard singles matches, which she's been doing for years. But even so now, with that added fantastic match against Starlight Kid, the great Cinderella final night that she had against both Hanan and then Sayaka Kurora, it feels like she's reaching another level here. Yeah, ultimately this is a throwaway singles match on a house show, but I still think it was a really, really good indication of just how well Rina is developing.
Yeah, you made mention just a few seconds ago, partner, about like she's no longer a star in the making; she's a star. And they just we are the Stardom YouTube page. They do a great job on the We Are Stardom matches where they show a lot of the backstage stuff. And the one they just put out, I think either today or the day before, was the Starlight Kid versus Rina Wonder Stardom Championship match. They're showing Rina backstage and all the members of Hater like giving her hugs and telling her good luck. And like Momo Watanabe is kind of the last one to grab her. Kind of looks at her and kind of gives her the fist pump, like, this belt, I've had a few good matches for it, and you're gonna have a really good match. Like that just seemed to kind of like the vibe it was. And it's really cool again to see these wrestlers on this roster supporting each other. And then again, you're absolutely right. Rina at 18 years old feels like the world's at her oyster. Really does. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's a possibility in a year or two she might even eclipse Hanan. But at the same time,
wow.
I would not be shocked if you see at a Dream Queendom in 3, 4, 5 years, Hanan versus Rina for the red belt, because they're both that talented now. How much better you think they'll be in a few years? But yeah, Rina was great here. The one thing I do want to make mention that Rina uses the hydrangea pretty much in every single one of her matches, obviously as a tribute to the late great one Hana Kimura. She needs to be winning matches with the hydrangea. There needs to be more tap outs. She basically almost just uses it as a setup for like the Pink Devil or the double knees. So I'm glad that she won it here. But I'd like to see her winning more matches with it, because one, it's great. Two, the psychology of how she gets into it and breaks it down, I think, is terrific. And two, it's a tribute to Hanan. So I would like to see her get actual wins with that. That being said, I thought this was a terrific match. Akira did a great job really bringing the fire and the intensity to Rina, and Rina did a great job bumping and feeding to make sure that she was going to look really, really credible. And again, Rina, we just mentioned it a little bit ago. She had Kanai's second or third match. Akira's only been wrestling 5-6 months. Rina, this is a difficult spot to be in the opening match with a rookie and still have a really excellent match in about a 10-minute time. That just goes to show you what a ring general she is. Again, Robin, only 18 years old. Absolutely phenomenal, like a real wrestling prodigy. I had this at 3.5 stars. Really, really good stuff here. And again, I like the spot for Rina on these shows, taking these rookies and giving them credible matches, really good matches.
What really excites me, and you made mention of it earlier, Rina and Hanan. Like, that is a feud that could really be the...
God
bless me. Sorry, I didn't have time to mute my microphone then, so apologies to headphone users. Yeah, you've got Rina and Hanan that really could be almost the glue of Stardom for the next, 8, 9, 10 years more. That constant jostling for position, that yin and yang of good and evil. And I can't wait to see that, because we saw a little snippet of what they can do at the Cinderella tournament semi-final, and it was great. They just threw everything at each other. And you said before on this podcast that you wrestle those that you know, those that you love, harder. And, that often brings out the best matches. And I think if that's, just the start of this feud, then I cannot wait to see what they can do. Because we've mentioned before that Hanan is the heir apparent to Mayu Iwatani. And if and when Mayu Iwatani moves, or retires, whichever, Hanan is the person to step up and replace her certainly at the top of your why me baby faces. And I think Rina is the perfect foil for that. You've already got your generational rivals in Starlight Kid and Azumi. Why not do it with the sisters as well? And hell, throw Hina in there as well. Why not?
She's not that far behind. She really, really isn't. And I'm so glad that she's getting this big singles match coming up in Yokohama, because I think that's going to be a really, really coming out party for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I made mention earlier about the fact that, it is so good that she is now finished with school and she is on these cards consistently getting those reps. And, she's always been good, but there was a difference between her and wrestlers that wrestled consist. So, for example, Rina, who has been on the vast majority of these cards recently, has got far better chemistry with her teammates because she's there all the time, because she's wrestling with them day in, day out in these house shows, whereas Hina was having to miss them through school. And I think that we will see a stark development very quickly in Hina, which is also very, very exciting.
School.
Yeah, I know. What is he even good for? Like, let's be honest, says the teacher. Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama versus Miyu Amasaki and Kanaya. Hanako seemingly channeling all the frustration she felt at Aya Sakura into a single lariat on the poor rookie and attempting to utterly decapitate her, Matt.
It's almost like these shows for these rookies are almost like tryouts for factions, because we mentioned that Kira seems like she fit really well with God's Eye. And Kanai, I think she fit really well with Neo Genesis. I really do. And again, her and Miyu, I thought were a really good team here. Waka and Hanako, another great showing between the two of them. Again, they really seem to fit well. Really nice name, Rice or Bread. Not as good as Wanako, as we coined them, Rob. But sometimes you have to settle for silver. But no, in all seriousness, solid enough match. Again, another great showing for Aunt and Kanai. We've seen Miyu, Amasaki, and Hanako have some really good singles matches before. They have great chemistry. Waka understands her role in this company right now and fits it like a glove. Like she does some of the comedic stuff. She does some of the great fire stuff. She's got some really, really great near falls, some really great submissions. Her and Hanako just seem to really work well. It really just goes, it's a credit akin to how talented Waka is. Really solid enough match, but yeah, absolutely, my friend. Hanako hitting the huge lariat at around the 10-minute mark to pick up the win. I have this at 3.5 stars.
Moving on then to the first of the Stars Trios matches, Koguma Hazuki and Momo Kogo losing to Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora. Momo Kogo eating the Supergirl. What was your thoughts on this, Matt?
This was a good match, a really good match. I wish I would have got a little bit more time. A little over 9 minutes. You have one of the best tag teams in all of wrestling in FWC in this match. Momo Kogo, we've been singing her praises a lot on this podcast, especially the last few months. And then you have what kind of we think maybe the heir apparent to the Artists of Stardom tag team division in Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori. And again, we kind of talked a little bit about All-Star Grand Queendom. There may or may not be an artist match on there. What if you flip the belts between now and then and it's these three ladies to the right? If you're watching this on your YouTube feed of Yuna, Aya, and Sayaka, they had a great match with the Work Rate Angels back at that Korakuen Hall show a few months ago. Would not be opposed to that. Again, this was solid enough stuff. Again, look who's in it. You got Bear Blessings right there, Rob. You have the Wrestling Machine and Hazuki. You have everybody's favorite Momo Kogo, and three phenomenal up-and-coming wrestlers in Aya, Sayaka, and Yuna. Again, really fun stuff. Great stuff with Hazuki and Yuna Mizumori. Would love to see a violent party between the two of them. Momo Kogo, I thought, was excellent here. Ultimately, though, is Yuna Mizumori, with the help of some teamwork of her other Cosmic Angels members, to be able to get the Superwoman for the 3 count. I had this at 3.5 stars.
Moving on to Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Saya Ida versus Tora, Konami, and Ruaka. Mayu getting the pinfall with the moonsault. Matt, anything to note from here?
To the shock of no one, Rob, this started out with a hate jump and then a long heat on Saya Ida, which ultimately then feeds to the comeback for Hanan and Mayu Iwatani. Konami here looked like an absolute killer. Again, Konami, when she's ready to go, and really motivated and focused, she's one of the best wrestlers on this roster, which is saying something when you have a Mayu, a Hanan, the Starlight Kid, so on and so forth. Again, Tora and Ruaka are your two brooding heels in this faction. You kind of have your cool heels in Saya and Momo. Obviously, you have Azusa and Rina are up and coming and doing great stuff. Konami's like the ass kicker here, but they do a great job putting over Tora and Ruaka as your big brooding, slowing down, grinding heels. Ultimately, for Mayu to not only mount the comeback for the team, but to be able to get Hanan and Saida, your tag champs, to string together a whole bunch of tag team moves that ultimately sets up Mayu for the moonsault on Ruaka. 3.5 stars for me, my friend. Simple, but yet effective storytelling that the crowd was able to get behind.
It's going to be interesting with the faction splits, and obviously a lot of this is going to hinge on whether Mayu leaves or not. But it's going to be interesting what happens with that split in stars. For me, that is the most captivating thing here, because I think without Mayu Iwatani, there's no stars. And I do wonder, we've seen it with Queen's Quest, we've seen it with Oedatai. Slowly but surely, we're phasing out older factions and replacing them with newer, reinvigorated factions like Hate, like Neo Genesis. And I do wonder if when and if Mayu Iwatani leaves, stars will break, and obviously some might go with Suzu Suzuki, some might join other factions. It's going to be interesting to see what that split seems like.
Cosmic Angels as well. If Tam does leave, obviously, can you keep Cosmic Angels with Natsupoi, Soriano, and the three ladies we just mentioned, Aya, Sayaka, and Yuna Mizumori? 100%. But when you think Cosmic Angels, you think of Tam Nakano. I mean, you look at Wedotai survived after Kagetsu left, and it did fairly well. Then it ran its course. So, again, based on what I kind of saw from Korakuen, again, we'll get into it. It could be not only the end of Stars, it could be the end of Cosmic Angels as well, and a massive, massive shakeup. It's going to be interesting to see where this company goes after All-Star Grand Queendom.
I do think that Cosmic Angels will stay together.
I agree.
But I think the chances are that will be more of a rebrand in the same way as it is for Hate. So Hate are still, for all intents and purposes, a Wedatai just under a different name. Whereas I think that's what Cosmic Angels will be. Whereas I think Stars will full on break up. Because I think you'll have Wingori go one way, Hazuki and Koguma go another way, and Momo Kogo, who needs to choose. Which is going to be really quite upsetting, but there we are.
Momokogo Neo Genesis, I think, would be perfect. I think at the top of my head. I think she would be great. Her and Azumi and Starlight Kid teaming up, Miyu Amasaki. I think
work.
I think she would. I think she'd work anywhere. We could see evil Momokogo because she is the metal. She already come out the metal.
She is metal Momokogo.
Oh, she comes out and she has the umbrella. So you have your weapon. There it is. Oh wow! Whatever she wants to do, I love Momokogo.
Yeah, like I say, I'm excited. I think there's ones that are shoe-ins to other factions. I think that, Uriah Hemi fits perfectly with Cosmic Angels, personally. I think that Akira Kuragani, God's Eye, and all those things. We can talk about it a little bit more after Korakuen. Once we talk about Suzu Suzuki. I've got hiccups, mate.
You're
I can't
over
stop
there, buddy?
Yeah,
you're sneezing, you're hiccuping, you look extra handsome. That's what happens. You look extra handsome. So eventually, you know what I mean? Certain things have to happen. But anywho.
Just too much and it comes out of all orifices. Moving on then to your semi-main event. The God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba, Rani Yagami, Hina, and Lady Z defeating the Neo Genesis trio and Tabata. And again, this, even though it's great, it's Neo Genesis, it's Azumi, it's Meisera, it's Suzu Suzuki, and that's just on one side. Even though the exchanges that we had across the ring were great, this, again, was all about Neo Genesis. This is off the back of Meisera and Suzu Suzuki coming to blows. Again, more miscommunication leads to them ultimately losing the match. And this is where Azumi basically says, right, stuff needs sorting. Apparently, the full-on fight they had at the end of the last show wasn't enough for Azumi to say they needed to talk. She was like, no, this right here is the final straw. I've got things I need to say at the end of the next show. I don't want you guys spoiling it. Sort yourselves out. And anyway, they agreed that they were going to sort their stuff out, and obviously we would have what would happen at the end of Hachioji. But in terms of the match, this was about, can Crazy Star coexist still, and the upcoming match between Hina and Tabata.
Yeah, they were able to tell a lot of interesting stories in about 13 minutes. Obviously, Hina and Tabata, they started the match off. They were great. We've seen throughout the years like satellite members of certain factions. I'm all about, especially after that match with Hina and Korakuen Hall, I'm all about Tabata coming back to Stardom from time to time, and she needs to be a satellite member of Neo Genesis, because despite the infighting, she worked really well with all three of these other ladies, and obviously Suzu's not going to be there anymore. Spoilers. Suzu, May, Azumi, I thought she was terrific here. You're right. The match starts off. We get the preview with Tabata and Hina for the future Stardom Championship. Really great stuff. Then May Sarah comes in and she's going 1,000 miles an hour, and how you slow her down? Lady C comes in, just kicks her in the face, and then puts in the abdominal thrusts. I'm like, so that's one way to stop her. You know what I mean? It's one way to stop her. I thought that was really great stuff there. Hina and Suzuki, they had some really good exchanges as well. We did get more high-speed style double team offense with Azumi and May Sarah. I know we always talk about O2 line. They're fantastic. We know somewhere in the next year or two, we're going to get a massive Azumi and Starlight Kid to either run at the Goddess belts or run as the Goddess of Stardom champions. Rob, I would not be opposed to some major matches with Azumi and May Sarah as a tag team. One, it would be great. And two, I would love to call some of those matches with you on alternate commentary just to see if we can keep up, because in these multi-person matches we've seen over the last few months, their stuff as tag team works just insane. Like the fact they do it, they do it that fast, that quick, and make it look effortlessly. I make mention all the time, Azumi is one of, if not the most talented wrestlers in all of wrestling, and May Sarah is like right there. And again, no knee pads. Maybe that's why she does it as fast, because she doesn't have any knee pads wearing her down. I don't know. Regardless, so then you get that high-speed style offense with May and Azumi, and then we go flip it the other way, and we get hard-hitting style teamwork with Tomoka and Rana. Just the lariat, the kick sandwiches that they did towards the end of this match, I thought that was great. Eventually, though, this breaks down. We get some infighting with Suzu and May Sarah that ultimately does lead to Tabata getting kicked in the head from one Rana Yugami. This was a phenomenal match. The fact they were able to tell so many stories just added to it. But again, Rob, very much like we talked about the New Blood match before, Tabitha's challenging. I wouldn't have had her eat an L here, not unless it was an L to Hina. But regardless, you get Rana the win here. I guess that kind of does make sense, because now we know she's next in line, not to be confused with Ronnie James Dio song, the next in line. But this was a phenomenal match. 4 stars for me, my friend. And again, I want to see Tomoka Inaba and Suzu Suzuki.
Hell yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right with the Tabata thing. Like, I know that she gets a win back on the next show, but even so, surely, you are literally telling a story about how whether Suzu Suzuki and May Sarah can coexist, and you are doing the miscommunication still. Surely, another miscommunication leading to a pinfall for one of them is not out of the realms of possibility. It does make me laugh, though, that Azumi is very much at the moment. Have you seen the gif of the dog sitting with a cup of tea? The house is on fire, and he's just like, everything is fine. That is very much what Azumi is at the moment with Neo Genesis, with these two fighting. But anyway, we will see at the end of Hachioji that there are interesting things said, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But the main event of the show, Azusa Enoba and Saya Kamatani versus Saori and Tam Nakano. Now, Matt, I know that our big feud in Stardom at the moment is Tam Nakano and Saya Kamatani, and whenever they're in the ring together, there is a certain atmosphere, there's a certain buzz. However, this match, that was not what I was most excited for, and that's not what I was most excited to see. Saori and Azusa Enoba were brilliant here.
Not only that, but I thought you were going to say Suriano and Saya Kamatani were brilliant here, which they will.
I mean, that was my next point, literally. We've got to have a red belt challenge. Surely she's the, as you've already mentioned it, and you're like biting 1,000 when it comes to the All-Star Grand Queendom show. surely that is where we go after Tam. A Saori challenge.
And that leads to a Natsupoi potential challenge. And again, we'll talk about it in Korakuen Hall. We got to do Azumi and Saya Kamatani, right? I mean, it's all right there.
Surely.
It's all right there in front of us. Again, what they have laid out for Saya Kamatani, especially with this roster, by the end of this year, she's probably going to be the wrestler of the year. You know, we don't have that Micah match as well. We know that Micah match is coming somewhere down the line. You want to give me a Shuri match? Whoever. It's insane. This match. Here it is. Here's the weekly report, Rob. It's another week in Stardom. It's another must-see tag match in Stardom.
There we go.
This was one of my favorite tag matches in Stardom this year. I know we're 3 months into this year, but this was a solid enough show, right? But I'm still waiting for something blow away. I'm like, Tam and Soriano, they're pretty good together. We never seen a Zeus and Sai Kamatani team up. And this was great. You get the hate jump. We get heat on Soriano early in the match. You're absolutely right. Azusa just beating the crap out of Soriano, especially breaking down her knee. And Soriano really putting over the dangerousness that is Azusa Inaba, considering the fact that Azusa is only 17, 18 years old, and you have a ring general, one of the best wrestlers in all of wrestling. Soriano really selling and putting Azusa over. Soriano gets really one move in, and that's this release German suplex. She properly launches Azusa across the ring, tags in Tam. Tam comes in, boom, 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 fired up on Azusa, fired up on Saya, obviously against Saya and Tam. That's where the money is. Excellent stuff there. And then we get some great teamwork between the two Cosmic Angels with Soriano and Tam Nakano. Excellent stuff there. Then Azusa comes in and the party's over. It's like she's the youngest person in this match, and the person that, no disrespect to her, the focus really isn't on. But she makes sure every second she's in the ring, it counts. And considering the fact that she understands, I only have a finite of time in this match because everybody's looking at Tam and Saya Kamatani because that's the big match in Yokohama. And again, we think Soriano is on deck or next on deck for a big main event match with Saya Kamatani. She understands her role here. Again, 17, 18 years old, understand and make sure every second she's in the ring counts. Not only every second, Rob, every kick. Because wowzers, those kick, especially to Soriano, and you're absolutely right. Soriano and Azusa Inaba, excellent stuff here. I would love to see a singles match somewhere down the line because that was just excellent, really stiff stuff. Soriano's able to come back with not one but two perfect plexes for a 2 count. Then it hits a German suplex, and then Soriano goes to the top rope to go for her kick combination, and then Azusa Inaba just yanks her off the top rope and gives her a German suplex off the top rope, where Soriano takes right on the back of her neck. I was like, okay, all right, we're not holding on all the stops here. They think this is Korakuen Hall in front of 1,600 people because these two are just absolutely brutalizing each other. Though eventually, Tam hits a super kick that opens up the door for Soriano to hit the Potter ring onto Azusa Inaba for a 3 count. This was excellent, just great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This match, you're absolutely right, partner, puts Azusa Inaba in a more brighter light. You have the spotlight is shined so bright on this match because of the stars that are in it. And Azusa Inaba is the one that steals the spotlight. And that was rightfully done by what they gave her in this match, ultimately, then just to beat her, which is the genius booking and psychology of this match. This is as good as tag team wrestling gets, which is saying a lot because we've seen some phenomenal tag wrestling, especially in Joshi, over these last 2 months or so. 4.5 stars for me. This is must see viewing, and this just adds on not only to the Saya and Tam stuff, not only to another incredible year that Soriano is having, not only to a big up and coming year that Azusa Inaba is having, but this adds on to the match of the wrestler of the year that is Saya Kamatani. And I have a feeling at the end of the year, Saya Kamatani will be my wrestler of the year, and Azusa Inaba will be my most improved wrestler of the year because this was phenomenal. Again, considering the fact that Saya and Azusa, this might be their first time they've ever had a tag with just the two of them. It's like, yeah, instant chemistry. Yeah, we can easily be one of the best tag teams in the world if given the push.
I've got a question for you at the moment.
Yes, sir.
Which Inaba sister is higher in the standings, do you think?
Fuki and Death Inaba? Is that the
yes.
Is that the answer?
That's the next face of death.
I think there's more of a shine on Azusa because of her character work. But if you were to take, again, they're so young in their career, but if you were to take what they've done and put them, obviously Tomoka's wrestling longer, like Azusa doesn't have the match quality that Tomoka has, and that's no disrespect to her. Like the Micah red belt match, the Suzu match we saw a couple years
She hasn't
ago.
been wrestling as long.
He's wrestling that long, right? But at the same time, like the character work, it's very much like if you look at Hanan and Rina, right? Hanan has the better catalog and probably the better wrestler, but Rina's probably like the cooler character, you know, and that's probably would be my comparison. At the same time, Rob, it's heads you wins, tails you win. The fact that they're
Absolutely.
very much like Hanan and Rina, younger, young, very young, and have so much left to do. Buddy, before we get into this other show, I don't know if you want to pause this for the cause, but I need to get rid of some water. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
That's absolutely fine. I'll read through the show. So whilst Matt empties his bladder, thank you for that, Matt. We are going to our third show of the podcast. We're going to Hachioji, which again was live on Stardom World from the 30th of March 2025. Again, same people out injured. Unfortunately, no Momo Watanabe, no Natsupoi, no Saki Kashima, no Starlight Kid. To add to the long-term injuries of Motoi Hamabe, who is still out, Xena, who's still out, and Amisori, who is still out. The attendance then at Tokyo Tama Mirai Mess was 438 people. Now, this is only the third time that Stardom have run the venue, but it is the lowest house they have drawn, and it is a 10.34% decrease from the previous house they drew, which was back in December of 2024, where they drew 489 people. Matt Turner, just in time attendance of 438 for this show. And I'm just about to head into the results, and they are as follows. Tag team match. Stars, Hazuki and Sayurida, they defeated Hanako and Ann Kanaya, with Ann Kanaya eating another lariat, this time from Sayurida, in 10 minutes and 21 seconds. I don't quite know what she's done backstage to annoy so many people, but there we go. Another tag team match followed there. Akira Korogani and Aya Sakura defeated the EXV team of Micah and Rian. Aya Sakura pinning Rian after the Cherry Blossoms in 13 minutes and 49 seconds. They were both live on YouTube. Tag team match, the God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba and Lady C. They defeated the Stars team of Hanan and Momo Kogo, with Tomoka Inaba pinning Momo Kogo with the one-hit kill Tomoka kick in 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Tag team match, Tabata gets her win back alongside Sayaka Kuroi, defeating the God's Eye team of Hina and Rana Yagabi. Tabata getting the win over Hina with the Pulpo Guerrero in 11 minutes and 33 seconds. Another tag team match, the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani and Koguma abducted a child, but also less importantly, defeated Yuna Mizumori and Uriah Hime, with Koguma pinning Uriah Hime with the Kuma roll in 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Mayu Iwatani must be stopped. Semi-main event, tag team action, the Sai Queen team of Saya Kamatani and Konami, they defeated Moonlight Venus, Mina Shirakawa, and Waka Tsukiyama. Konami submitting Waka with the Triangle Lancer in 12 minutes and 41 seconds. And then in your main event, Neo Genesis, Azumi, Suzu Suzuki, Miyu Amasaki, and Mei Seira, they defeated the Hate team of Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, Rina, and Azusa Inaba, with Suzu Suzuki getting the pinfall over Azusa Inaba with the tequila shot in 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Matt, what has Ankanaya done to these people to warrant such vicious lariats? And more importantly, who hit the better lariat, Hanako or Sayurida?
To answer your first question, I believe that Ankanai, maybe her when she's in training, maybe her bridges aren't that good, and they're like, "Well, you need to strengthen your neck." She's like, "Nah, I'll be okay." I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna say Saida hit the better lariat, and maybe I'm just saying that because Suzuki was in the match. Anytime Suzuki enters a room, the violence level automatically goes up.
It does, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think we're gonna feel a certain aura when we do meet her in Las Vegas. Consider the fact that Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world. That maybe we need to dream book a Mike Tyson versus Suzuki match. Anywho, Rob, going back to this match, yeah, fun enough match. Again, you're getting Ann Kanai, you're getting your ring time. The fact that she's across the ring from Saida, one half of your Goddess of Stardom champion, and Hazuki, one of the legit best wrestlers in the world, whether it's singles, tags, or what have you. So you're getting more reps, and obviously Hanako, she played her role really well, ultimately just for Hazuki and Saida to build up Nanae enough in this match. And Hanako was very dominant. She came in, bumped around Hazuki and Saida, but ultimately it was just another lariat that's what she's susceptible to. That's her Achilles heel, my friend. Very much like, in order to defeat Magneto, you need to take her helmet off. In order to defeat Nanae, you have to hit her with a lariat. So ultimately, though, I had this at 3.25 stars. A fun opener.
We followed this immediately with a tag match. Mayu Sakura and Akira Gorgani getting the, I think, surprise win over Micah and Rian. Perhaps not over over Micah, but certainly I expected if it was going to be a pin, it was going to be Micah pinning Akira Gorgani. But there we are. Matt, what did you think of this?
This match did not follow the count-out rules because they were on the floor quite a bit. Fan interference, there should have been disqualifications, countouts. I don't know. What happened on this show? There's no rules followed. In all seriousness, I will say this. Micah comes out and there's these kids screaming for her.
Screaming to the point
where Micah was she couldn't have been any happier. She was probably happier here than she was at the spring break show, which is saying something. And again, this was a spot with Rian and Aya Sakura, and somebody had to call an audible, considering the fact that Rian's wrestling about a year and Aya's like a year and a half, where like they're wrestling and those kids are going wild for Micah in the opening 30, 40 seconds. The dropkick gets hit. Aya rolls all the way to the outside. And again, this had to be an audible called on the spot because like those kids are all, and I've done this before, those kids are all into it. Let's cater to the kids that are making all the noise, and eventually everybody's going to love it. And they go all the way to the outside. And again, if you're watching this on mute, you're like, this isn't a hate match. This isn't a big like Suzuki like main event match. Why in match 2 are we going to the floor? This makes no sense because the kids were all the way in the back and they all get involved. Really cool, really fun to see. Yeah, this is a match you remember for moments. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought Micah would get the win here or set up Rian for the win here. But ultimately, it was Aya Sakura, which again, thank you, Andy Header. We know Sakura stands for Cherry Blossoms as she hits the Cherry Blossoms on Rian. And again, this gets a win for Akira. Technically in the book on Cage Match, it'll say that Akira has a win over Micah. So something to put a feather in your hat. A fun match. 3.5 stars, but ultimately what this was, it was all about the kids. And then Mayu, we'll talk about it. Almost takes it away. Almost.
Moving on then to match 3, Hanan and Momokogo versus Tomoka Inaba and Lady C. And we talked about, obviously, Sayarita trying to decapitate the rookie with a lariat. And here I feel like Tomoka Inaba was perhaps channeling some of that pent-up aggression to try and kick the spine out of Momo Kogo. It's always good to see Lady C get something of a spotlight because we seem to heat her up ahead of that Artist of Stardom Championship match. She then had a fantastic match in Korakuen Hall, which, rightly got plaudits and rightly shone a spotlight on her. And unfortunately, she seems to have been fired bad down the card ever since, which is a shame. But again, given the opportunity, given the nod, she does another good job. And I thought her and Tomoka Inaba team really well here.
Yeah, they worked excellent together. She had some really great sequences with Hanan. We had some really good stuff with Hanan and Tomoka Inaba. Again, a couple years ago, they had a great match for the Future Stardom Championship, and then we saw them on round 1 of the Cinderella tournament just about a month or so ago. So again, we talked about Hanan and Rina probably having a big 3, 4, 5 year long program. I would love to see Tomoka and Hanan have a big long program because they're great here. And somehow they're only consistently getting better because they're so young in life and in their careers and just so terrific. But yeah, excellent stuff with Momoko. Great fire on Tomoka Inaba because that's somebody that you really don't want to play with because eventually she will put you away, and that's what she did. But an excellent ending sequence with Tomoka and Momokogo. We're like Momo was almost going to get a surprise win, but ultimately it was the penalty kick, the 1-shot, 1-kill Tomoka kick, putting away Momokogo. I had this at 3.5 stars.
Tabata gets her win back, managing to get the victory over the Future of Stardom champion heading into Korakuen Hall. Again, Ronnie Agami continues to impress. She really does. And had Hina not only just won the belt, I would be screaming for Rani Yagami to be holding that belt because, good God, she looks so much better every time she steps into the ring, doesn't she?
You know what? I mean, obviously, it's gonna like I'm excited for our preview show because that's a match I don't know where it's going to go with Hina and Ron, and and again, they're going to do a great job building it up over these next few shows, and considering the fact that they, obviously they're part of the same faction in God's Eye, and they're in part of the same team here, but ultimately this was just again building up a little bit more to that future of Stardom Championship match that we're going to talk about here shortly with Tabitha and Hina. Really, the one kind of outlying factor again, we're covering 4 shows. Sakakura just won the Cinderella tournament. I just received my weekly pro wrestling magazine with her on the cover, by the way, which was fantastic. But it's kind of like she won the tournament. And it's just like we're kind. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was doing that on my microphone because I hit it.
Sorry, but I thought you wanted to add it one of your fancy little lines, brother. But they really kind of haven't done with her anything in these shows. It's kind of like, okay, she won the tournament. Let's set her aside until she decides to cash in on the wish. So
I think that's the main problem. She's held off on the wish, and until we get there's quite a big gap between the end of the Cinderella and when we all assume the wish is going to be sort of brought to fruition, and that's going to be Yokohama. But there's over a month where what are you going to do with her? Occasionally put her in hate tags, but aside from that.
Yeah, I think they kind of just need it. Not like obviously she subbed in for Starlight Kid last week for the that match with Saya Kamatani in the main event, which was a cool spot for her. But considering the fact that, like, again, she's a fantastic wrestler, did a great job highlighting her, and obviously ultimately winning the Cinderella tournament, you're putting her on the cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine. That's a big deal. And then these 4 shows, it's kind of like she's almost like forgotten about. But at the same time, I guess you can't push everybody all at the same time. So I kind of see that. But anywho, regardless, not only was Hina and Tabitha great here, Ron and Tabitha was great here. I think Tabitha, considering the fact that she's a lucha-based wrestler, which sometimes they don't fit in all that well, more of the Joshi, Puro, American, European style wrestling base. We don't see too many of the lucha style wrestlers really in Stardom that much or do that well. We've only seen her in a few matches, and again, she was great. I made mention I would love to see her as a satellite member of Neo Genesis because she was terrific on all these matches and really fits that style. Ultimately, though, she does get the win with the, what was it, the Guerrero? What was the name of her finisher?
The Pulpo Guerrero.
The Pulpo Guerrero, really cool name. Great leg style submission as once again the Batmobile goes by my house, I think for the 4th or 5th time. I don't know. I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where all this traffic goes from. But regardless, I know a lot of the traffic is going to Korakuen Hall in just a moment as we'll talk. But yeah, solid match. What did I have this bad boy at? 3 3/4 stars. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
There you go. Right. Now, Mayu Iwatani. So before we get into the child abduction part of this match, and where she assaulted a small child with the baseball, which I feel like was only a matter of time with Mayu's aim, let's be honest. Is Uriah Himi's reaction to being locked in the Kuma the greatest reaction of all time? We're so used to seeing Syuri acting as though it is her kryptonite. We've seen Rani Yagami screaming, no, I don't want to do it. We've seen Tomoka Rinaba get very violent when locked in the Kuma. Uriah Himi looks like it is legitimately her moment. Like, her calling is to be locked in the Kuma. Never has anyone looked so happy to be locked in this move and forced to do the Kuma, Matt.
Well, Rob, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. I understand Uriah Himi, her whole entire role in Stardom is to be locked. That's it. Yeah, she didn't even go through training. It was just like, no. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, we'll get into it in the Korakuen show with poor Sherry. The biggest badass in this company. The beatings with Utami and Julie and that match with Chihiro Hashimoto 2 years ago. No, that's fine. But anything with the Kuma, can't stand it. No. Let's talk about the big thing here at hand. You're absolutely right, buddy. Consider the fact that Mayu's aim and the fact that this is only the first time that she did it. I like how you're giving her the benefit of the doubt. Now, one thing, this is going to be crazy Matt Turner parallels that I know that you and a lot of our listeners are going to pop for. This kid that's got somewhat abducted by Mayu, and all joking aside, This kid's gonna remember this moment forever. It's going to, now with everything on the internet now, it's a moment that's going to live forever, that they can point back 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago and go on Stardom World or YouTube and be like, yeah, this is Mayu, arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time. This is my moment with her. I sat back and I thought, boy, I went to a lot of wrestling shows when I was a kid, mostly at the CYC in Scranton because I was only about 10 minutes away. And because the WWF would run there maybe once every 5 or 6 weeks. And then ECW came to town. And I'm sitting there thinking, what was the first time that I was on TV as a fan? I was like, oh, I was on TV as a fan in the winter of 1997. 14 years old I was, Rob Goodwin. ECW show. Was it as wholesome as Mayu's thing, Rob? Rob Goodwin, no, it wasn't. And I actually found a Blu-ray comp of every single ECW TV show, and I haven't seen this in about 20 years, and I just watched it about 2 months ago. Was not as wholesome as Mayu. Rob Goodwin, I was in the crowd, CYC, Scranton, Pennsylvania, jam-packed ECW, and I was getting drenched in beer from the Sandman's entrance at 14 years old. Folks, keep in mind the drinking age in Pennsylvania is 21. So 7 years difference. I need to be 7 years older for that incident to be legal. Again, that was 1997. Statute of limitations are over. So that was my parallels to Mayu and the kid and me in one Enter the Sandman, my friend. One Enter the Sandman. But this match was fun, but ultimately it was all about, again, these kids just added on so much of this. And we've seen it before. We've seen it like with the Tora fans. I forget in that one venue where Tora is supposed to be the biggest badass in this company, like as far as heel goes.
It was the kid that was dressed as it.
Yeah, it's all the time for that show in the front row, and it properly pops her. Again, these kids in that with the Micah, and then Mayu just beating that kid in the head and then picking the kid up. And just, this was ultimately a fun match that this just really ends, which is with the Kuma roll. Again, it's Mayu, it's Kaguma. They're a great underrated tag team. Yuna Mizumori is terrific. Uriah Hime is somebody that is going to be a star for this company in the next 2 to 3 years. It was a fun enough match, but ultimately this match is going to be remembered for the interactions with the kid. 3.5 stars for me, buddy.
And you're absolutely right, man. That kid is going to remember this for the rest of her life. And rumor has it that it's going to inspire her to become a wrestler because, of course, as we know, that child is going to grow up to be Victoria Yuzuki. So
how did I not see that? I'm talking about the Sandman.
I was like, he's going to go Victoria Yuzuki. Yeah, you do realize if Mayu turns up to Marigold, that's going to have to be in the video package. Just Mayu with this small child and just with an arrow. Yuzuki. Moving on to the semi-main event, Sai Queen versus Moonlight Fantasy. And just as we have seen the final Micah and Mina Shirakawa tag, should I say, we have now seen the final Moonlight Venus tag. And I don't know why this felt sadder. And I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just because Waka, she's got such an emotive face. When she gets sad, it makes me sad. And I don't know if that's what it was, but obviously, Sai Queen were there to ruin the festivities, shall we say.
Yeah, this was great. And I didn't see this live, but this was all over Twitter like an hour or two after. Like people upset that we never got that big. We thought we would maybe get a red belt match with Sai and Mina. So Sai can get her win back before Mina left. Obviously, the cards didn't shape up that way. But these two were at each other's throats on Twitter afterwards, which made it seem, again, Mina AEW has a working relationship with Stardom. Is it maybe somewhere after the 5-star in the fall that we do see Saya and Mina for the red belt if they don't have anything major for Mina? It's a real possibility, and it's there. Yes. And they did a great job leaving the door open, not only in this match, but on social media as well. So I mean, it's a real possibility. And I am all for it because it's only going to make Mina a bigger, Mina's only going to be a bigger star in 5 or 6 months, being on TBS and TNT and pay-per-view. And Saya Kamatani is just constantly just growing, not only in the ring, but as a big star, a big performer, drawing tickets and drawing money. So again, I'm putting a lot of stuff out there in the ether, Rob, and I'm having more hits than misses. I'm going to say before Dream Queendom at the end of this year, we're going to see Mina and Saya Kamatani in a Stardom ring for the World of Stardom Championship. I'm throwing it out there. They left the door open. Everybody wants it. There's demand there. Business-wise, it makes sense when the time is right. Great exchanges, really excellent stuff. Again, I think Mina's greatest matches are all against Saya Kamatani. I think it's all right there. Her and Waka, you're absolutely right. They're so endearing together as a team. As much as we love Mina and Micah, as much as we like, Pink Kabuki as a team, there's just more endearing factor with Waka because it's poor Waka. And eventually, after the smoke clears of the Mina and Saya, Konami doesn't care about the potential matchup that we're talking about. Konami doesn't care about poor Waka. All she wants to do is beat up poor Waka because the second half of this match was just Konami beating up on Waka, and Waka always does a great job selling and then firing back and then giving the Waka Maniacs some hope as we thought we were going to get a win here.
Maniacs.
There's that one part where Konami hits her with a head kick and then she goes to the triangle answer. I'm like, God, that's going to be the finish. But then Waka rolls through and then rolls her up. And like, I jumped out of my seat and just about everybody else in the crowd thought that was going to be the finish. Then Konami comes back and then gets her in the triangle answer. Excellent match. Really great closing sequence with Waka and Konami. But again, Rob, great job on Mina and Sai Kamatani leaving the door open for a potential match for the red belt. If it does make sense, and I think that it really can. Again, maybe sometime after between the 5-star and Dream Queendom. Again, we saw Toni Storm come in, putting over Mayu. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal for Mina to come in and for Saya to get the big win against what is going to be worldwide Mina. 3 and 3/4 stars for me. I thought this was terrific.
Moving on to the main event then, Neo Genesis versus Hate. Again, good match. This was all about the post-match, for me at least anyway. Azumi, obviously, as we mentioned before, calling out Starlight Kid. That match is now made official for All-Star Grand Queendom for the white belt. Also making a challenge for Mercedes Moné's and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. But we then had the rather bizarre sequence between Suzu and Mei Seira where Suzu attempts to, gloss over the miscommunication and the issues that they've been having as sort of playful, which was certainly a way to go with it. Mei Seira is as confused as everybody else. Anyway, they shake hands and, Suzu pulls her into a hug and, basically says, oh, we'll get over this. It's fine. And I don't think there was a single person who believed that that was the end of this. It was a weird thing to do, especially with only one show. So we had this, and then we went straight into Korakuen. I think had they done this at Tokorozawa and then had this show where, they are perhaps working a little bit better together. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Suzu Suzuki leaving Neo Genesis because I feel like she needs to be out on her own, or at least the leader of her own faction. I think she's too big a star, has too much upside. And in this faction, you've got Starlight and Azumi. Like, they are the two figureheads for Stardom for the future. But I feel like the dissolution of Crazy Star has come around too quickly. It's gone from literally, we are fine, to I hate you and everything you stand for in the space of a month. And I just think it's come about too quickly. And I know that there has been frustration built with Suzu being the only one without a belt in Neo Genesis. But I feel like that was implied as opposed to explicitly told. And I feel like that is something that fans have sort of noticed as opposed to anything else.
It was almost kind of put on fast forward because you've been seeing all these past couple shows that it was really boiling between the two. And then they're kind of on the same page here, like really on the same page. And they do a backstage segment. They're like, no. Afterwards they do an interview. Like, no, we're fine. We're coming after the goddess belts. As soon as I saw that, I was like, eventually they're going to break up and maybe, put them together for another month or so and then break them up. And then I threw it out there in the ether. I'm like, let's do a number one contenders match in Yokohama of Crazy Star versus Saori and Tam. Like, sure, why not at this point, right? With the way that card's going. And then, sure. And then that by the time I tweeted that out, it was like 24 hours later that I was like, not happening, Matt.
I don't think that's going to happen now, Matt.
I could be wrong on that one, but I've been doing A-okay. This match was great for a lot of different reasons. Again, not only do you have the two factions, but you have 4 tag teams here. You have O2 Line, you have Crazy Star, you have Devil Princess, and then you have BMI 2000. And that's the way this match was kind of worked. You did have your faction, great teamwork with Neo Genesis. You had your cheating and bending the rules with with hate, but you also had some excellent teamwork with the 4 tag teams I just said. Crazy Star, they were on point in this match. They were everything. It was back to the old Crazy Star. Excellent, like arguably the best tag team in the world. It seemed like everything was fine. Some really excellent stuff here with eventually Suzu Suzuki, with the help of May Sarah, opened the door for her to hit the tequila shot in the end. Again, Tomoka, our Zusa Inaba, was tremendous here. Her interactions with Suzu and Azumi, those are matches I want to see. May Sarah and Rina, that's a singles match I want to see, maybe for the high-speed championship. With that new set of rules, I think that'd be really interesting. Again, Ruaka, Natsuko Tora being the heat hammers here, especially with the hate crate. Again, really doing a great job understanding how to be badass money drawing heels. Miyu Amasaki, she always does great whenever there's like a long heat on somebody. She comes in, just hits the big drop kicks and then the double pop-up DDT in those multi-person matches. It's a really great highlight for her. But really, this match was all about Crazy Star, making it look like, hey, we are A-okay, at least for the moment, Rob. And then we go to Korakuen Hall. This was my favorite match of the show. I had it 4 stars. I thought this was not only told so many great stories, but was a well-worked match.
Yeah, absolutely. So we move on then, as Matt's already mentioned, to Korakuen Hall, where a lot went on. We had a tremendous amount of news. Obviously, a really good card and some really, really, really good matches, especially the Mina Shirakawa and Maika match and the main event where some of those slaps, man, like Jesus wept. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, we then had the news that our first match for Vegas is official. We had all the stuff with Suzu Suzuki. We had all the stuff with the Rani Agami challenge. We had the announcement of the Stardom Project 2025, which is all about finding new rookies. There was a lot to talk about, and that's without getting into the matches. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are journeying to Korakuen Hall, the 2nd of April 2025, Wednesday, the 2nd of April 2025, to be exact. Another show live on Stardom World. Again, Natsupoi should have been on this card, but it looks like she re-aggravated that injury at the T-Heart show that meant her, Saori and Tam also weren't on the 30th of March show we've just talked about. So the card had to be changed because Saki Kashima was also still absent. So the card changed significantly from the one we announced last week. The announced attendance inside Korakuen Hall, by the way, 1,468. Now, this is still a huge number, especially as this is a nighter show. This isn't a, your normal Korakuen show. This is a show they know was going to draw less. They still drew over 1,400 people. This continues the trend of 11 of the last 12 Korakuen Hall shows to exceed 1,000 people, which is a tremendous achievement. However, it is a 10.21% decrease on the previous house of 1,635
Sell the
in
company.
March.
Sell
Absolutely.
the company. Yeah,
Get rid
sell
of
the
it.
company. That's it. It's in the mud.
Only way is down. Only way is down. Let's talk about this results then. 3-way match. Fukigen Death defeating Ankanai and Yuna Mizumori with the O'Connor roll in 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Yuna Mizumori eating the pinfall there. In a 6-woman tag match, the hate team of Tekla, Konami, and Rina defeated the EXV team of Hanako, Waka, Tsukiyama, and Rian. Tekla pinning Rian with the Toxic Spider Death Drop after mucho interference in 4 minutes and 50 seconds. 6-woman tag, Hanan, Sayurida, and Uriah Himi defeated Akira Kurogane, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora. Sayurida utilizing one of those lariats against Akira Kurogane in 10 minutes and 1 second. In an 8-woman tag that was basically an IWGP Women's Championship preview, the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki Koguma, and Momo Kogo, they defeated the God's Eye team of Shiori, Lady C, Rani Agami, and Tomoka Inaba. Hazuki rolling Lady C up with the Hazuki Strahl in 10 minutes and 12 seconds. Future of Stardom championship match, our only championship match on this card. Hina achieves her first successful title defense of the belt, defeating Tabitha with the Mad Splash in 9 minutes and 2 seconds. More excellent form from Hina on the top rope. Singles match, Mina Shirakawa's final singles match and her final Korakuen Hall match. She lost to Maika with the wrist clutch Michinoku Driver 2 in 19 minutes and 39 seconds. Semi-main event, 8-woman tag team match. The Neo Genesis team of Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, Meisei, and Suzu Suzuki versus the hate team of Natsuko Tora, Saya Kamatani, Azusa Inaba, and Ruaka ended in a no contest in 11 minutes and 57 seconds. And then in your main event, Tam Nakano defeated Saori Anou with the Twilight Dream in 18 minutes and 35 seconds. But good God, does that only tell you half the story? These two women absolutely battered each other. Now, you will see occasionally, and it's interesting to see Saya Kamatani and Tam do this, because when they slap each other, Saya Kamatani's slaps used to be awful. They really did used to be laughably bad. She's obviously improved massively now. She's got nothing on these Saori Anou ones. Like, they were like whip cracks, and you could see the swelling all over Tam's face. Like, you couldn't really see it on Saori Anou, but all over Tam's face, there was so much swelling, especially here. So much swelling from those strikes, and they just beat the hell out of each other. Such a good match. Such a good match. But before we get into all of that, of course, we need to talk about the main event, and that is, of course, the three-way that opened this match. Fukigen Death getting a crucial three-way victory as she continues that march towards the red belt, pinning Yuna Mizumori in a three-way. Matt, this was about the definition of fine as you can possibly get. It was a stock three-way opener. I don't think you can expect any more or any less.
Rob, I think you agree with me that this is the best roster in all of wrestling, Stardom, right?
Yeah, I'd agree so.
I think you agree with me that, like, when these Korakuen Hall show comes up, these are very important because they're Korakuen Hall, right?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, only one wrestler on this best roster in all of wrestling beat two people in one match, and that was Fukigen Death. So again, I mean, if they want to take Tam and or Saya out of that main event and put Fukigen Death in, I'm fine with that. If Cody Rhodes and or John Cena need to step aside because we need to really sell out, the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas for Fukigen Death. See where I'm going with this, buddy?
Has to be done, yeah. Has to be done. I mean, to be fair, if you need to sell those last 3,000 tickets for Yokohama Arena, I feel like make it a three-way. Saya Kamatani versus Tam versus Fukigen Death is the only way. It's the only logical way.
Or again, Cody and or John Cena versus Fukigen Death. Oh, Gunther versus Fukigen Death. That's the way to go. That's the way to go.
Legitimately scared that Gunther might kill the poor woman.
I thought you were going to say I'm legitimately scared for Gunther.
I would be. Kaori Oniyama would roll him up in 8 seconds. Can you imagine that?
Anyway.
Sorry. That's allegedly.
You're absolutely right. This match was the definition of fine. You knew what you were going to get in this. You're going to have some fun stuff, comedy stuff. It's going to be a short match. Good way to warm up the crowd. Again, Yuna Mizumori, somebody that is doing a great job. And Kanai, somebody very, very young into her career. Three-way with some younger wrestlers in Korakuen Hall. Fukigen Death is in that. You know what's going to happen. Fun match, fun opener. 3.25 stars for me, buddy.
Tremendous. Moving on then, a 6-woman tag, Hate versus EXV. Again, this was over and done with in less than 5 minutes. It was a lot about shtick and sort of gimmicks. Obviously, Hate win after a whole boatload of interference. Tekla, as is her wont, removes the belt, starts attacking members of EXV. Maika comes to the ring, sees every single member of Hate off, all of them Scarpa, and then Maika says, Taro Okada didn't want you in a match, so how about we do it? And they've agreed that that's going to happen in Las Vegas, which, okay, great. We're getting a singles match. It does mean that we're going to hear Tekla's theme, which I have alerted Kirsty to, and how much I am going to headbang and sing the Tekla bits as loud as possible. Also, side note, I don't know if I'm putting this out on the podcast, but if you listen to Fukigen Death's theme song, she is actually singing her own theme song just with death as all the words. Death, 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 death. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. Sorry, just thinking because Tekla says her own name in hers. But yeah, this was all about the beatdown and all about the post-match with Micah laying down the challenge. My question to you is, what on earth was the point in the Taro Okada bit? Because we already had built Tekla versus Micah. Why did we need Taro Okada mentioned at all? It made no sense.
Maybe it was somewhere they were going and then realized it wasn't a good idea. If you do remember once at the Cinderella final when they set that matchup, Okada got a pop. The people popped for Okada and chanted his name. So maybe it was to get more heat on the Tekla, considering she's been beating him up for the last 6 months. And then who's going to come to Okada's aid? Maybe the second or third biggest badass in the company, in Micah, the person you've really been pushing since Teru Okada is taking over the booking. Mike has been one of the biggest pushes that they've had. So maybe that's what it is. Not everything could be a home run. Sometimes you get walked on 4 pitches. I don't know. I don't know. Regardless, this match was, you have 6 wrestlers, less than 5 minutes. This was all about the angle. Again, maybe we're just trying to get over this Teru Okada hump. Maybe it was something they were trying to build more heat onto Tekla. It didn't work as well as they wanted to. Again, we're not, that's from us coming over here, talking, from the American fan base and over there in your respective country of over there in England, Rob. Maybe it's something that is going over in Japan. I mean, we don't know. We're not in the arena, but again, maybe that's what it is, to get more heat on Tekla, ultimately to make Micah look like a bigger badass for eventually that big match he's has coming up at the end of the month in Yokohama with Chihiro Hashimoto. Maybe that's what it is. Regardless, I don't know. I'm kind of glad we're moving on from this and away from this. And I'm glad that we're getting this blow-off match in Vegas. Because, again, no disrespect to Tekla. We love Tekla. We talked about her, possibly coming over to the United States for some work, which I'm all for. But the main thing right now for Micah is get over this Tekla hump, and then we're keep building to that big dream match that we're getting to Chihiro Hashimoto. So, ultimately this 3 1/4 stars. There really wasn't much substance to it, but that's not what it was about. It was all about Micah literally running off the entire faction of hate with no weapons, just herself. Because it's like, God damn, it's Micah. But
she is the weapon.
Yes, that's right. Like Taz used to say, I don't need weapons. My hands are my weapons. I think that was in his theme song too.
There you go. Taz.
Look at that, folks on YouTube. Look at Rob shimming over there with the head. He looks like Night at the Roxbury. What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
There you go.
There it
10
is.
hours of that.
That's the end of the show.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to top that, to be fair. Hanan Sayurida and Uriah Himi, against Akira Kuragani, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora. A solid match, Matt. Again, really good performances by the rookies. I'm really, really impressed with Aya Sakura and Hanan. Like, that's a partnership we haven't seen a lot of, and one I want to see a lot more of, because I think they'd work really well together.
Yeah, match starts off with the 2 rookies wailing into each other, because we've seen them have the sparring sessions and matches, in Korakuen Hall before. So that's how the match starts off. Again, we pretty much are under the assumption Wingori is going to get a long run, and rightfully and deservedly so, as the Goddess of Stardom champions. The one little thing that I would like to see, Rob, I would like to see Wingori versus Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora for the Goddess of Stardom champions. It doesn't have to be on a pay-per-view. It could be on a Korakuen Hall show or what have you, because their little exchanges were really good. Again, this match went a little over 10 minutes. It was really about just making sure you're getting Uriah Himi and Aya Sakura. You're getting Uriah Himi and Akira Kuragami. You're getting their more reps in the ring, especially when you have in that said match arguably the best tag team in all of wrestling, and Hanan and one Saida. Yeah, enough really good stuff there. But again, must be a rite of passage. If you've been wrestling for Stardom under a year, you must get lariated by Saida, because that's exactly what happened here. 3.5 stars for me. Again, it's all enough outing, but hopefully somewhere down the line we get Wingori versus Aya and Sayaka.
So at what point during our meet and greet with Wingori are you going to ask Saida to lariat you?
Probably what I'm going to do is, again, wrestling, we call it the feed. When I throw my jacket in the air, that will leave me susceptible, because when I throw my jacket in the air, then I come down here and then I feed for the lariat there. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So I got a lot to do, buddy, between chopping you, double wrist lock from Shuri, and then getting lariat by Saida and throwing my jacket as far in the air as humanly possible. So you got a lot of stuff going on.
Exciting times. Obviously, we had our preview for the IWGP Women's Championship match with Mayu Iwatani and Saori leading their respective teams. And Matt, again, the brief interactions we get between Mayu and Saori, they whet your appetite. We know what these two women can do whenever they've faced in a singles capacity. It's been fantastic. We haven't seen it since January 2024. It was a tremendous match then, one of the matches of the year, and one of a trio of absolute world beaters of IWGP World Title defenses that Mayu Iwatani's had. I couldn't get more excited, but this was a nice little wetting of my my need for this match.
No, this was like Sherry's return match. I believe she missed the last few shows because she was filming a movie or doing stunt work of a movie or what have you. So it's good seeing Sherry back. And again, look at who you have everybody in this match. FWC. Obviously, we love Momo Kogo. Mayu, arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time in her prime. We love Lady C. They're doing great stuff with Ronnie Yagami. And of course, Tomoka Inaba. This match had a little bit of everything, Rob, because you started off with the comedy. Again, we mentioned before how Sherry hates the Kuma dance, and they made Hazuki watch. Or Hazuki had her like in a double chicken wing, making Sherry watch what was going on with the bear dance into the camel clutches, which I really liked. And then the party was over because Tomoka Inaba's like, okay, it's enough. That's enough. And she kicks the crap out of Koguma. I mean, really lays into her. But then I like how Stars gets the advantage back. We see Hazuki and Mayu, and I don't know how they did this because this is a little tricky. They did their like Arabian press arm drags to the other four members of God's Eye, which is tough to do because you're both springboarding off the top rope at the same time. If Mayu goes first or Hazuki goes first, or they have a little bit too much force, it's going to throw the spring off of the other's legs. That was a really cool spot that led into a four-way Stars boot scrape. Excellent stuff there. Lady C was terrific. She had some really great stuff with Momo Kogo. We always see it whenever they're doing God's Eye or back in the day, the respective Queen's Quest versus Stars. Whenever it was Lady C and Momo Kogo, they have like really great underrated chemistry. Really good stuff here. We got just a little bit. I want a little bit more. Tomoka and Hazuki. Really, really fun stuff there. But as this match is ramping up, we get a little bit of snippet, if you're right. But a few bites at the apple, if you will, of Shuri versus Mayu. We know that it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Eventually, though, it is Hazuki, the People's Champion, getting a win in the middle of the ring with a Hazuki straw onto Lady C, 3 3/4 stars. The fact they were able to tell so many stories in 10 minutes is really just akin to how great these wrestlers are.
Moving on, then, the only singles match on this card, Hina versus Tabata. Hina's first successful title defense as well. More perfect form on that mad splash. I think she hits that perfectly. But how do you think she led this match, Matt, as champion?
This was great because you get a lot of lucha style offense, and Hina's the way she feeds in for the lucha arm drags and whatnot. Because again, the lucha style is completely different because every other style in the world they work on the left, where lucha, the Mexican style, they work on the right. Hina did a really good job making sure she's feeding for the arm drags, feeding for the drop kicks, bumping to where she needs to get to. So Tabitha's really impressive offense looks even better. Again, singles match, Cork and Hall, 1,400 people for the Future Stardom Championship. Excellent stuff. Great back and forth. Eventually, though, Hina is able to. Tabitha does a really great slingshot German suplex spot, like using the rope as a slingshot for a German. Again, I thought that was great. I made mention it twice before. I'm going to make mention again. I would love to see Tabitha back in Stardom in some sort of fashion because she fits so well with this loaded roster. We see Hina is able to trip up Tabitha with a ghetto clutch. I thought that was going to be the finish. Really great way to maybe get a surprise win. But ultimately, though, she hits what I call the Hina special and then a running neck breaker that leads into the mad splash for the 3 count. Really solid stuff from both these wrestlers. And the fact that they built this up over the last few shows between the multi-person matches and, of course, Tabitha getting that shock win on night 1 of the Cinderella tournament. They did a good job taking the Future of Stardom Championship match and building it up over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Ultimately, though, Hina gets the win. Her first V1, a really great way to start off this run. I had this at 4 stars.
Moving on to one of the big matches of the night, arguably the biggest match of the night, Mina Shirakawa's final singles match and final Korakuen Hall match as an active member of the Stardom roster before she goes to America. Really nice moment with Himeka coming out. It was announced before that she will be coming out to talk, to do the commentary for this match. She comes out, gives Mina Shirakawa her flowers. What I thought was really sweet was that Himeka was really, really excited to see everyone was smiling, waving the moment she stepped through the ropes. And I am talking instantaneous. She was wiping tears away. It was clearly a very emotional moment. You've got Micah wearing the same gear she wore when she retired Himeka. I was like, oh my God. Micah, of course, who was now sent off, Himeka, Mina Shirakawa, Julia, and Megan Bain. It's like, Jesus. But nevertheless, this was a fantastic match. It really was. And we got the boob comedy. Of course we did. It's Micah. But that aside, it was a really, really well wrestled match and a very timely reminder that Mina Shirakawa is so much more than just a dance, so much more than just boobs, so much more than just an aura or that sort of confidence. She's a good wrestler. In between those ropes, she can tell great stories. And in attacking Micah's leg and really going after Micah's leg, these two told a really great story. Ultimately, Micah wins with the wrist clutch, Michinoku driver too. But I thought this was a really, really good match. And if this is the last time that Mina Shirakawa does have a singles match in Stardom, spoiler, I don't think it will be. But if it is, then I think this was the perfect match to send her off on. I thought it was really, really well done by everyone.
Rob, I apologize. I got a text message from Dave Meltzer. Hanako is her retiring. So yes, another member.
There we go. Yeah.
That Mike is going to.
Rion next.
Oh my goodness, folks. Obviously, I'm joking. You're absolute. This match was great, but what adds onto it is the moments. There was so many moments between Mina not coming out from the normal entrance, coming out from the top of the crowd, and it got a huge pop. People chanting, "We want Mina" in the beginning and the end of the match. The fact that you have Himeka coming into this match, or as the guest presentator of the flowers, and doing the commentary as well. We didn't realize until All-Star Grand Queendom 2 years ago how close Mina and Himeka were, because Mina did the ring intro for that Micah versus Himeka and Himeka's retirement match. And then after Mina won the Wonder Star Championship, that Himeka came out and gave her a hug as she was walking on the aisleway. And we're like, we didn't realize how close they were, but it made this match so much more. This match was great, but it earned bonus points for me because of the certain moments you had in this match. And yes, there was the comedy things with Mina's boobs. And again, between me and you, we've probably seen every one of Micah's matches. And I didn't know that Micah does the Iron Claw now. So apparently she did that in said match. But again, this was great for all of the fact that this got it almost went the time limit, 19 minutes. These two was that. Did I popped you with that, didn't I? I'm a big fan I'm a big Von Erich fan. It's like, she uses the Michinoku driver and the lariat, but we've never seen her use the Iron Claw before. Breaking out all this, maybe she's trying to impress her former tag partner there in Himeka.
Maybe.
And it was nice that we had Himeka and Natsupoi. So we kind of had the My Himi Poi.
Yes, we did.
So that was cute. Micah we start off with the forearms. Mina goes to the knee. Micah's able to build her comeback. Really just great stuff back and forth. Micah hits a suplex onto the apron because I guess it's Mina's going off to the second biggest wrestling company in the world. It's like, we're going to send you off proper. Let's give you a stalling suplex onto the apron. And then they go out to the floor. We get a forearm trade off on the floor. Mina then uses the apron for a tornado DDT. Then Mina hits the roaring elbow, draping DDT for a 2 count. And then Mina goes to the top rope. Rob Goen, I say it all the time. 20 years ago, I would say you can't powerbomb Kidman. And now in this day and age, you cannot go to the top rope against Micah. What are you thinking? Micah stops her, gives her the best superplex in all of wrestling. Mina's able to come back with a roaring elbow and spinning backwards combination. She hits the title crush. She hits the Arista kick. Excellent stuff there. Mina locks in the figure 4. Then Mina does go, you know what? Maybe Mina goes to the top rope again, hits the top rope sling blade. So I guess she figured, hey, why not? Let me try for the gamble again. What's the worst thing that can happen? But she does hit the top rope sling blade and the implant DDT for a 2 count. Mike comes back with the Anka Toshi for a 2 count. And then she goes for the Michinoku driver. This is a really cool spot. She goes for the Michinoku driver. Mina rolls through like a quesadora and then rolls all the way through into the figure 4 leg lock. Really good stuff there. Micah's trying to get out of the figure 4, realizes that if she gets her arm underneath Mina's knee and her shoulder, she pops her up and she pulls her right into the rear naked choke. Who would have thought? I mean,
it was so good. It was such a smooth transition.
I've never seen that done before. That was awesome. Great feed from Mina going into, again, we made mention at the beginning of the show what a great judoku Micah is. Really great shoot style choke there. And then we do see the Glamorous Collection Mina for a 2 count. And then Micah hits the Michinoku driver and then shouts out to Himika, hits the concussion bomb after the Michinoku driver, and then hits another Michinoku driver for a 2 count. And then she grabbed, and then as Mina's crawling up to Micah, very much like we saw 2 years ago in Yokohama with Himika, she's crawling up to Micah. Micah doesn't want to do it. Micah doesn't want to do it. And then the crowd starts chanting, "We want Mina." After Mina's just taken Michinoku driver, spinning lariat, Himika concussion bomb, they're all chanting, "We want Mina." And then Micah, I love this spot. Again, this adds so much to this match. It's the moments, it's the storytelling. She grabs her for the hammerlock Michinoku driver. When she pulls her in, she hugs her and she holds her.
It was so nice.
It added so much to it, and just like, that I'm sorry, I love you moment. And she pulls her for the hug. Hammerlock Michinoku driver for the 3 count. Rob, I had this at 4.5 stars, but it gets so much more extra credit for the moments in this match between the stuff with Himika and Natsupoi and this Mina entrance and just everything they added to the match, and the fact that Micah threw back to Himika's finishers to help her defeat Mina. I gave it an extra 1/4 star. 4 3/4 stars for me, my man. This was absolutely fantastic. It just goes to show you what a phenomenal performer Mina Shirakawa is. And they have and we said it a year ago, and we're going to say it for a long time, they have a constant main eventer in Micah. We made mention last week with Mina leaving, potential Mayu leaving, Tam leaving. As long as they have Micah here, this company's going to be A-okay, buddy, because she is somebody that can literally do everything. And the kids love her.
Micah is for the kids, certainly.
Sometimes.
Neo Genesis versus Hate. Matt, I'm not even going to talk about the match because, let's be honest, this ain't about the match. It's good. It's really good because it's Neo Genesis and it's Saya Kamatani, Natsuko Tora on the other side, Ruaka, Azusa Inabe. This is all about Suzu Suzuki turning on Mei Seira. Now, obviously, we just had Suzu talking Hachioji about how she and Mei Seira are fine. They're going to go for the goddess belts. That turns out to be nonsense. There's one more instance of miscommunication, and at Tora's command, Suzu Suzuki smashes a chair over Mei Seira's head. And it was at this point where I was like, no. Oh, no. And I thought we were just going to get... It was literally the worst option, was to have Suzu Suzuki turn on Neo Genesis and go to Hate, because we went through all of the reasons she shouldn't do that. The first one and the most important one was she'd be lost in the shuffle. She'd be the new shiny thing for a month, and then she'd be, where Konami is, where Momo Watanabe has been since she turned. Thankfully, we then had a very nice swerve, which I really enjoyed, where Suzu Suzuki extends a hand to Natsuko Tora. Tora takes it, and Suzu hits her with a German suplex. That was great. And then she sees off the rest of Hate before going in and attacking Mei Seira again. So Suzu has left Neo Genesis emphatically. She has not joined Hate. Thank God. What this means is that Suzu is basically going off on her own. And that's what she said in her post-match promo. I'm going off on my own. She's attacked Mei Seira, saying, basically thanks, but no thanks to a continuation. And again, you hear Mei Seira crying in the middle of the ring, and it's like a lost puppy. It's horrible. There's things that shouldn't happen in this world, and Mei Seira crying is one of them. Suzu should be ashamed of herself. Matt, we saw and knew that Suzu was going to turn on Neo Genesis. It's been teased rather, I say teased, it's been absolutely forced down our throats for the last month. What do you think of the execution of it? And obviously, we've talked a lot about faction shakeups. This, I think, throws a complete wild card into it because I think Suzu is going to get her own faction that she will potentially lead. That means obviously we're going to have people leaving other factions to join Suzu, and that opens up a lot of really cool doors.
I know, obviously, this is all about the angle, and I mentioned this a little bit ago. I'll mention again. Azumi Sayakamatani. Please, even if it's not for the red belt, give it to us like a night one of the 5-star.
That opening exchange was stupendous.
Oh my god. Yeah, you have the turn, and then she drops Natsuko Tora. And again, for the diehard Suzu Suzuki fans, which obviously me and you, and obviously Andy had are massive Suzu Suzuki fans, that were kind of like scratching their heads, like she keeps losing. She's the only one that doesn't have a belt. I'm like, she's having great matches and getting over. Again, if you're a diehard Suzu Suzuki fan and you don't like the booking, you love it here because not only did she beat up May, she beat up every member of Hate and every member of Neo Genesis.
She's the main focus.
Yeah,
she's the main focus. Yeah,
yeah, because then Kamatani, Ruaka, and Azusa came in. She beat up all them. She pushed Azumi away. She kicked Maysair away. She beat up every available member of your big heel faction and your super cool new faction. So it's like, yeah, you made her look really cool. You made her look she was a heel for all about 10 seconds, and then she dropped Tora on her head. So it's like, all right, where are we going here? I am all for it. I think what they should do and what they need to do is until Suzu has a faction, every single match she has on these Stardom shows should not be a tag match. And we know that they like doing tag matches, and it's very rare we see a singles match on these non-Korakuen pay-per-view shows. Have her wrestle all the rookies. Have her wrestle Rion. Have her wrestle Akira. Have her wrestle have her wrestle all the rookies. Have her only do singles matches, so she's not aligned with anybody until we figure out what we're doing with her said faction, or whether she wants to remain a lone wolf until the 5-star, whenever. I would not have her on any teams with anybody. Now, with that being said, where we go with her Yokohama, it could be easy with her and May Sarah, which would be great. But
I think that's probably where we're going, because Ronnie Yagami is technically the next challenger to the high-speed title, and she's in the Future of Stardom title match. So, I mean, it's a hot match, and it saves just throwing both of them into a multi-woman.
Now, again, I'm fine with that. Here's another route they can go. And I made mention this literally as we did our review for All-Star Grand Queendom back at the end of the year, because you had that insanely bloody match with Natsuko Tora and Micah.
Yeah.
Who's the best person at this style? Suzu. Who did Suzu? Not only did she drop May Sarah, who did she also drop on her head? Natsuko Tora. So it's an easy story to tell, where again, maybe on the first match or whatever, that Suzu beats one of these rookies and then Hate jumps her, and Tora's like, I want a match, and Suzu's fine, no DQ in Yokohama, because how stacked that card is. You need something to stand out, and that would be completely different. So I'm fine with either one of them, and they set up both of them right there. Again, the match solid enough, 3 3/4 stars. Give me Azumi versus Sai Kamatani, please. But this is all about Suzu. And you literally, and anybody that thought that she was damaged, and I don't think we really did, she literally just beat up Neo Genesis and Hate all by herself in one segment. So really interesting to see where they go from here. Not only that, but whoever comes out of Yokohama as the Wonder of Stardom champion, they're both members of Neo Genesis. A Suzu Suzuki versus Starlight Kid match, a Suzu Suzuki versus Zumi match for the white belt. I wouldn't say no to either of those, buddy. There's a lot that they can do with Suzu Suzuki moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm really interested in, you look at, once she does eventually have her own faction, there's so many different options you can have. Hazuki, for example, have her and Micah. Again, we mentioned it before, the chemistry between those two as opponents. Maybe a face turn for Momo Watanabe.
Yeah.
There's.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Stars breaks up, if you have FWC, Momo Watanabe, and Suzu Suzuki in your own faction?
Yeah, Christ. The only problem is then you've moved from a faction where you've got basically all main eventers to a faction where you've got basically all main eventers. So
Good problem
again,
to have. That's
it is a
Stardom in general. I mean,
it's Stardom in general, yeah.
Look at hate. Look at hate right now. Kamatani, main eventer, right? Momo Watanabe, main eventer. Rina, she's a main eventer. Azusa Inaba, you're not that far off there. Natsuko Tora is the leader of said faction. Oh, and by the way, Konami's having really good matches. So that's the problem you have this loaded roster, my friend. It's like the best thing about Stardom sometimes is the worst thing. It's so loaded. Just less like, what can you do? Again, we've kind of been spinning the wheels with Shuri for the last 2 years, So
That's true. That's true. And again, I think Suzu Suzuki, yes, she's been losing a lot, but I think actually from a wrestling standpoint, she's been doing some of her best work over the last, probably just before her Red Belt match with Saya. I think she's really started to come into her own again. And that is both a terrifying prospect for opponents and a very exciting prospect for fans of Suzu Suzuki. Speaking of terrifying, let's go into the main event, Matt. Some of these strikes, goodness gracious me, bearing in mind that these two are faction mates and friends, they beat, and pardon my French, they beat the piss out of each other. And this wasn't just like, it was quite brutal with four. Honestly, it got really uncomfortable after a while because the slaps, they were hitting like whip cracks and they were just echoing. They hit each other with absolutely everything they possibly could. And this was such a good main event. It was so well done.
How do you top Micah versus Mina in that story? How do you top Suzu in the heel turn? This and it delivered. Like, what a roller coaster. Really good show. And then each of those last 3 matches, and it's just, last 2 matches, and then this. This is the exclamation point on another great Cork. And how lucky are we? These Cork and Hall shows that we've been reviewing for Stardom and Marigold over the last week. Just both, just solid, amazing shows. This wasn't only about the slaps. There was some forearms. There was some kicks. Tam with an early dive, that apron fight, you didn't know which way it was going to go, and then Tam hits a tiger suplex on the apron. There was a lot of dangerous stuff in this match, but you knew it was going to be. Again, Tam is really turning it up to another level. Really, really turning everything up to another level. And again, Soriano is only getting better and better and better, building herself up. To again, Rob, I think you got to pull it. Maybe a flashing champion, Soriano versus Saya Kamatani, if that's the way they go.
I agree.
I think that'd be a great shout. Soriano, after she takes the tiger suplex onto the apron, hits a step up enziguri, and then she hits the perfect plex, and then she goes for the Tom's Tondra. But Rob, since this obviously is an ordinary match, not only does she not hit the Tom's Tondra, Tam blocks it, hits her with a Dr. Death Steve Williams style backdrop driver. So it's like, we're not playing any games here whatsoever. Like, just properly snapped her off there. I thought that was great. Soriano then hits a top rope Rana, comes back with a German suplex. He does finally hit the Tom's Tondra for the 2 count. Then we do see Soriano goes for the Japanese Ocean style suplex. Tam blocks that and then hits the kick. And then the slaps start coming. And you're absolutely right. They echoed in Korakuen Hall. And the acoustics must be really good there because we always hear these kicks and slaps in these matches. They always snap off so better there. I thought that was insane. Soriano almost steals one here as Tam goes for the violent screwdriver, slips out with the Potter ring for a 2.9 count. I thought that was great. Eventually, Tam comes back with the violent shooting, the violent screwdriver for a 2.9 count. But Tam stays the course and hits the Twilight Dream to end a phenomenal match on a phenomenal show. Obviously, we have the post-match angle, which we will talk about in Uno El Minuto. This was my favorite match of the show, which is saying something. 4 3/4 stars, Matt, on this one, buddy. We made mention last week, like maybe at those 2 pay-per-views, they shouldn't have been pay-per-views. They were good, but they really shouldn't have had paid extra money for that. They made up with this show. The fact that I had two matches at 4 3/4 stars, and it was just your Stardom World subscription live on Stardom World. Excellent stuff, my man. This company is on a roll. This roster is head and shoulders above any other roster in all of wrestling, in my opinion. This is wrestling at its finest.
And then Unagi Sayaka came out. And it was funny because when Unagi came out after the Cinderella tournament and Tam was going like, why are you here? Why are you here? Like, obviously very annoyed. And Unagi was like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for Saori. And you could see that Tam was quite put out, and it happened again. And you could see Tam just lose her mind. Why are you here again? You shouldn't be here. And Unagi came back with the rather savage, yeah, well, you're not going to be here soon, so it's fine. Whoa, Unagi, calm down. Anyway, they have sort of made a pact in the fact that at Tam's homecoming show, the Anjo show, which is coming up on, I believe, either the 6th or the 5th, I can't remember.
6th. It's Thursday. Yeah.
It's Thursday, yeah. So at the Anjo show,
wait, that'd be Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah. You sure?
4th, 5th, 6th, Sunday. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, anyway, good grief. It's been a long podcast, people. So yeah, anyway, it's going to be Cosmic Angels of old in some regards. Tam Nakano, Saori Ano, and Unagi Sayaka teaming together one final time before Tam retires, maybe. But we will see. They will be facing Yuna Mizumori, Ai Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora. God, did they miss a trick by not putting Mina in this match?
Yep. I agree.
I love Saori Ano. She's one of my favorite wrestlers. Why have we not got, with all three members of the original Cosmic Angels on this card, with Cosmic Angels playing such a pivotal role in Mina's career, and with Mina never once getting that win over Tam or getting any sort of closure over Tam, is she not even involved in the match? Now, I understand that, yes, okay, Mina is doing the sort of one versus all thing for EXV. So she's facing everyone in like a gauntlet thing, which is fine. It's a tradition that when we retire, we do gauntlet matches. Fine. I don't get why she's not on this. Why she's not in this match. I don't get why you can't tell me that she's not a better fit for this match with the history, with it being her final show in Japan, that she's not a better fit.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before we hit the record button, that it's a missed opportunity. And as always, Rob, nobody knows Stardom in 2021 more than one Mr. Rob Goodwin. He's written a book on it, Stardom Living the Dream, getting it on Amazon, folks. And outside of probably Utami, the Cosmic Angels trio of Tam, Mina, and Unagi were probably the most pushed thing, arguably.
Oh, without a doubt.
In the company. And again, 2021 was a massive year for Stardom, and that allowed to do off the back of that trio. The fact that you're bringing Unagi in, and again, I have no problem with, wait a minute, a lot of people like, Matt, Unagi lost that loser leaves Stardom match to Tam at the beginning of the year. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a little reunion for Tam. And Unagi even said, well, technically, you're not a member of the Stardom roster anymore. So since you beat me, that rule doesn't apply, which, whatever, folks, it's pro wrestling. But yeah, you're right. I think it's a missed opportunity not having Mina in this match. I would have done Mina, Tam, and Unagi versus Soriano, Yuna, and Aya. That's the way that I would have done it. Obviously, if Natsupoi was fit, I would have made it 4 versus 4 with Sakura and Natsupoi. But obviously, let's keep Natsupoi out until she can wrestle. Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. It really is. But at the same time, Tam, Soriano, and Unagi, let's take a step back. We got the negative out of the way. Whatever, it is what it is. Can't change it. But same time, we're getting Tam, Soriano, and Unagi versus Yuna, Aya, and Sayaka. That's going to be a phenomenal main event. And even on the Mina side, she's running the EXV gauntlet for her last Stardom match in Japan, at least for now. Again, who knows what the future holds. But that card coming up on the 6th looks really, really good. I'm excited for it. And again, another main event shot for one Soriano.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see Unagi back because she is relentlessly entertaining, and she was pretending to be a journalist backstage and was proper winding Tam up during this interview. It was really funny. If you haven't seen the backstage bit, go back and check it out. But just obviously as a sort of aside from this show, we did have the announcement of the Stardom Project 2025. This came after the first match in terms of the running order. Taro Okada came out and announced that the Stardom Project 2025 will replace the Cinderella auditions, which are used to find the next Stardom rookies. In conjunction with this, TV Asahi will be airing a program called Golden Dream, which will show the audition process and give a little bit more depth on the trainee applicants, which I think is quite a good idea, and something that, even though I probably won't watch it, I look forward to hearing more about it, simply because I literally have no time in my schedule to watch anything. Moving on, then, we've got 2 shows coming up next week, as we mentioned. Stardom Dream in Anjo, which is Tam Nakano's homecoming show. It is, in fact, it's not the 13th, Rob. Why have you noted down the 13th? It is Sunday, the April the 6th. The card is as follows. Saori, Hina, and Lady C versus Suzu Suzuki, Akira Kurogane, and Uriah Hime. Meisera versus Ankanai versus Fukigen Death. Stars, Hanan, Hazuki, Koguma, Momo Kogo. They're going to be taking on the Hate Quartet of Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, Rina, and Azusa Inaba. In a tag team match, Mayu Iwatani and Saya Ida versus Tomoka Inaba and Rani Yagami. I'm happy with that. As I mentioned, the Mina Shirakawa Gauntlet, Mina versus Maika and Waka and Hanako and Rian. We've then got a tag team match, Sai Queen versus O2 Line. So Saya Kamatani and Konami versus Suzumi and Miyu Amasaki. That's going to be tasty. And then in your main event, we have got the original Cosmic Angels without Mina, Tam Sayoriano and Unagi Sayaka versus Yuna Mizumori, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora. Some decent matches there. Obviously, the main event is going to be heaps of fun, but that Sai Queen versus O2 line, Stars versus Tomoka Inaba and Rani Yagami, they stick out for me.
Rob, I don't know if I missed it. I know usually Stardom announce at the end of the month what their schedule is on Stardom World at the beginning of the month. So the question I'm asking you, brother, is this going to be live or VOD?
I will just double check for you whilst you give me your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that main event is going to be fantastic with the All Cosmic Angels team up, and then as far as the other matches there, the Mayu tag, and then O2 Line versus Sai Queen. That's going to be absolutely fantastic because we've been mention the chemistry, the underrated chemistry with Konami and Azumi on opposite sides. So that's going to be terrific. Plus more Sai Kamatani and Azumi stuff.
Absolutely. It's still loading. It's been very, very slow. So
no problem. We can move on there, good sir.
We will talk, though, about Stardom in Osaka on Thursday, the 10th of April, which will see the return of Natsupoi and Starlight Kid to in-ring action. That card is as follows. Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, Sayurida, and Momo Kogo versus Hazuki.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out this match card. Okay, right. Okay, very weirdly laid out. So it's Mayu, Hanan, Sayurida, and Momo Kogo versus Hazuki, Koguma, Akira Kurogane, and Uriah Hime. Sorry, it looked half like an 8-woman tag and half like a multi-tag. Anyway, tag team match, the God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba and Rani Yagami. They're going to be taking on Sayaka Kurora and Kanai. The 6-woman tag of Meisera, Miyu Amasaki, and Tabata. They're going to be taking on Konami, Azusa Inaba, and Fukigen Death. In a tag match, Saori and Lady C will be taking on Natsuko Tora and Rina. In a 3-way match, we have got Suzu Suzuki versus Yuna Mizumori versus Hanako. In a 6-woman tag, Maika and Waka Tsukiyama and Rian are going to be taking on Saoriano, the returning Natsupoi, and Aya Sakura. And then in your main event, it is Saya Kamatani and Ruaka versus Tam Nakano and Starlight Kid. So great to see those two back, Starlight Kid and Natsupoi. I'm looking forward to seeing what Starlight Kid and Saya Kamatani can do, since we were robbed of that singles match due to Starlight Kid's injury, Matt. But what else sort of sticks out to you there?
Not just a solid enough card, but Tam and Starlight Kid on the same side. That's going to be really, really interesting. But these two cards look are, as we're getting to Yokohama and obviously Vegas the week after, really exciting stuff. And folks, we obviously know that this one, by the time we're done editing all together, Rob, is going to be about 3.5 hours. We have one show to review next week because that show drops on Thursday when we record. So one show to review. So we had a ton of news, 4 shows. Obviously, Rob's going to segue me into our final segment here. So I hope you enjoy this long one because next week, I'm sure we can still probably pull it up to almost 2 hours. That's the way we usually do it.
Almost, undoubtedly, yeah, almost.
But, this was an absolute banger of an episode. But yeah, I'm excited for these 2 shows next week. Stardom's just absolutely crushing it, and I'm super pumped for the return of Starlight Kid. And it's no longer Bye Poi; it's going to be Hi Poi.
It is going to be Hi Poi. Nice. The next 4 shows on Stardom World, by the way, are all live. The 6th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th are all live. They aren't sure about the 13th in Hamamatsu as of yet. That being said, Matt, finally, after over 3 hours and 15 minutes, it's time for EO and Kairi Watch.
Rob going, did you see this match yet with Rhea Ripley? I know you're busy. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
It's must. This is great. And it's the main event of Monday Night Raw, EO versus Rhea for the WWE Women's Championship with one Bianca Belair as your special guest referee. Nothing can go wrong, right, Rob? There's no way, when you have a special guest referee to be called right down the middle. I knew this match was going to be good when it starts with a big lockup. We have a big lockup here. Rhea overpowers EO. EO comes, then we get two quick counts between the two. EO hits a handspring dropkick that sends Rhea to the floor. EO then hits the suicide dive onto the floor, and then she hits EO goes to go back in the ring. Rhea picks her up like for the Doomsday device, and then EO just casually gives her a poison rana on the floor. Didn't look as clean as it wasn't as clean as like Suzu and Saya, but I was like, okay, we're doing poison rounds on the floor. Okay, which does play part into the psychology of the match, but I'll get into in a moment. That was great. EO then hits EO then does the bullet train. She goes to the top rope for the top rope moonsault. Rhea Ripley then stops her from top rope moonsault. She tries to give her a top chair electric chair drop, but then EO tries for a top rope poison rana. I'm like, what is this, the Utami match? Eventually, though, they get to a top rope crucifix bomb, which is just as bad enough. Rhea's taking some bumps in this match.
She is, Jesus.
Yeah, let me tell you, this was absolutely insane. EO then goes for a springboard high cross body onto Rhea, and then Rhea just on the way down just headbutts EO right in the face. I was what are we doing here? This was fantastic. This was good. The crowd was really into it. Excellent stuff between the two. Rhea then does a running razor's edge, almost like a running 3, just launches EO. That wasn't enough. Then Rhea hits a shining wizard. I was like, okay, she does a shining wizard now. This match was just absolutely insane. That gets a 2 count. And then Rhea Ripley goes for the riptide. EO counters it with a roll up. And then Rhea, here it goes, accidentally hits Bianca Belair. Rhea then comes back, hits the riptide. Bianca Belair is on the outside selling the boot. So all of a sudden, these two are getting into it. We get a little scuffle with Rhea and Bianca Belair, but that's not enough. Then EO goes for the Joshi dropkick, accidentally hits Bianca Belair, and then Bianca Belair goes to the outside right in front of the camera. She goes, "No, I had enough of this," and throws the match out. We get the double disqualification, which I'm guessing is going to lead to the 3-way that we are going to have. We know EO and Bianca Belair, their match that they had on Monday Night Raw a few months ago, probably the best women's match we've seen on a WWE canvas in about 2 years. This match was phenomenal. Again, the bump that Rhea was taking, I mean, just an EO's on an absolutely another level. And then we're going to get Bianca into this match. Brother, I don't like 3-ways. I am all for this. This match is probably the match I'm looking forward to the most on the 2 nights of WrestleMania. It's been built up really well. Rhea in ring is doing some of the best work of her career. She's obviously the biggest star in the women's division. EO is on an absolute tear, and Bianca Belair is a super athlete. This way this has been built in this insane match, brother, I know you're a busy guy. Take time to watch this match because this was nuts. This was nuts in the best way possible. So excellent stuff to end a very long podcast, my man, but a really good podcast.
A long but good podcast indeed, brother. It has been a fun one. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for those who have managed to stick it till the end. We do appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already, it would be great if you could subscribe on the podcast app of your choice. Maybe leave us a comment and a 5-star review if you think that we have earned it. If you like all of your episodes early and ad-free, then you can get them on the patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. We can get every episode early, ad-free for as little as $1 a month, as well as just access to hundreds of bonus episodes as well. You can find us at talkjoshi.com, where you can find all of the news, reviews, previews, show notes, all of those good stuff to do with Stardom and to do with Marigold as well. You can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast, apart from Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram, where we are on Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Turner, where can they find you? And sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky, and as well as the TikTok. Folks, don't forget to check out our brand new merchandising site. And thanks to everybody that has purchased something. Because, yeah, look at Rob sporting the Air Mayu and I believe the Stardom Cast jacket. Oh, those hands on the other side. There you go, buddy. You got it. What a guy. However, folks, if you're like Matt, I don't want to do social media. How do I get a hold of you? Smoke signals.'s the best way? Folks, we're going to tell you the best way to get a hold of me. That's via the email system. The email address simply is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled, action-packed episode of the Stardom Cast. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you because, like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.